Chapter 142. Find someone to lead the way. Huarong said indifferently. The earlier we settle it, the earlier we can relax. If there's any business in the future, great clan elder, please take care of us brothers. Gu and Xiong snorted coldly. Why wouldn't he dare? In the entire family, the only one I have no chance of winning is him, this old fellow. Don't be fooled by his usual silence. Once he makes a move, he will definitely not give anyone a chance. The butler had a bitter look on his face. Zia rejected. Seems like the rumors are true. He had many dealings with Ling Su. Star coins, spirit cards, star rocks, etc. were all given to Ling Su by him. Ling Su's treatment in the first branch was definitely second to none. Then I'm relieved. The great clan elder forced a smile. Hua Sha was ugly, taller than Huarong by a head. His body shape was more powerful. His bulging muscles made people feel a sense of terror. Standing there, he was like an iron mountain. Standing in front of him, a strong sense of oppression, like a pair of invisible hands strangling your throat, making you unable to breathe. His weapon was an extremely heavy double-headed mace, which he carried casually. Tang Tian pretended not to hear, looking up to the sky and laughed. With that glance from Huarong, the great clan elder felt as though his heart was gripped by a pair of hands and almost stopped beating. He was a decisive person and knew what to do at this moment. Bing ignored Tang Tian, but stared at Ling Su. What else did your teacher say? The two brothers were able to enter the top 50 of Phylon Star at the same time. They were the only ones. Either one of them, to the Black Mountain City, was an absolute expert. No one could stop him. Everything was in his control, including Gu Shui. Who was this fellow? The great clan elder revealed a satisfied look. With them taking action, I'm relieved. Remember to remind them not to harm Gu Shui. I want him alive. This is my mistake. The great clan elder regained his composure and said in a low voice, I took too little care of Ling Su. How can such a genius be won over with just money? I was too careless. Tell me, what kind of person is Ling Su? The first elder couldn't help but be shocked and pleasantly surprised. Huarong's words were casual, but it gave people an extremely strong confidence. He could feel the powerful aura coming from the other party. This level of aura, so strong. Tang Tian patted Ling Su's shoulder and consoled him. Young lad, you must be open-minded. Oh my God, you actually stooped to the level of a spirit general? Yes, the steward replied respectfully. And there were two of them. In next to no time, the remuneration was sent over, and Huarong glanced at it before putting it away with satisfaction. Two names popped up in Gu Wu's mind, and his face turned pale. Gu Wu and Gu and Xiong hurriedly ran over. The two towering men, led by a martial artist, walked towards the ruins in a relaxed manner. What kind of person was Ling Su? Huarong 185 m tall, strong and powerful, his brown hair draped over his shoulders, his upper body naked, his chiseled muscles glowing a bronze color, his gaze cold. He held a copper rod in his hand. Ling Su's eyes suddenly widened. As if he was ignited, he flew into a rage. You're the little kid. Your whole family is made up of little kids. Invite them in. The first elder suppressed the joy in his heart and said hurriedly. He stood up to welcome them. Even the stupidest person would know that the first elder was only preparing his counterattack. Once he was done, what awaited Ling Su and the rest would definitely be an extremely swift and fierce counterattack with the weight of Mount Tai. Huarong was slightly surprised at the first elder's straightforwardness. He nodded, as expected of the first elder. You're straightforward. Us brothers won't be long-winded. They won't live past today. Bing's gaze was fixed on Ling Su. Hua Sha grinned. He looked silly, but was like a wild beast. One day later, they will be here. The housekeeper gritted his teeth. Ling Su and that brat, they won't be able to come up with any tricks. The housekeeper's face was ashen, and he roared in the hall. He was the first elder's trusted aide, and had followed him for 40 years. More than half of the affairs of the first branch had to go through his hands. Even the few sons of the first elder did not have as much authority as him. First elder, they're here. The housekeeper's voice was trembling. Tang Tian was shocked and immediately stood up. He's called Bing, my spirit general. Tang Tian was shocked. Wow, your teacher is so powerful. He must have guessed that there's a godlike young man in Southern Cross constellation. Right? Yes. The housekeeper was also excited. They are willing to accept this order, although the price is high, but the top-notch martial artists are only the two of them. The good thing is that although the price is high, the Hua brothers have a good reputation and are easier to deal with than Zia. He had long seen Gu Shui as his and was determined to get her. But it was not only because of Gu Shui's recessive snow rainbow blood meridians. Gu Shui's beauty, these few days, kept appearing in his mind, and he could not sleep at night. Aries constellation. Bing was trying his best to recall. Suddenly, wait a minute, he turned around and stared at Tang Tian with an unfriendly expression. What do you mean by lowering yourself to the level of a spirit general? Gu Xiong's face was ashen, and he muttered to himself. As expected, in comparison, Ling Su was too lacking. Two majestic figures appeared at the door, and the light from the door was immediately blocked. The two walked in front of the first elder. A strong sense of oppression came straight at him. Even the first elder, who was used to many big scenes, could not help but feel his heart tremble. His gasp was mixed with a strong tremble. It's too quiet. I feel like I can't breathe. Gu Wu stood in front of the window, looking down at the empty street, his tone revealing a tinge of nervousness. Suddenly, Dewey, who had been observing the street, shouted, "They're out." This was a real, strong martial artist. Gu Wu was stunned and immediately screamed. Don't tell me the first elder wants to kidnap Gu Shui too? He dares. Gu Xiong shook his head. The first elder will not do something he has no confidence in. You. The steward did not expect Hua Rong to be so unruly. His eyes flashed. He wanted to tell everyone. Those who dared to betray him only had one ending. Death. Looking at the two quarreling, Gu Shui, who was playing with Yaya, suddenly felt how good it would be if time stopped at this moment. Hua brothers. The first elder heard of this name, and his eyes lit up. The two brothers Hua Rong and Hua Sha, that's the Hua brothers. The first elder said decisively, we have to be fast. The earlier we settle it, the more advantageous it will be for us. The later we wait, the more passive we will be. The first elder muttered, to be able to escape from Zia, their abilities cannot be underestimated. What about the rest? Suddenly, a figure appeared beside Tang Tian. Who is your teacher? Let's not think about it. The first elder shook his head and sighed. To make such a mistake once, we have to pay a heavy price. Now think about how to remedy it. Have you managed to contact them? All the eyes that were staring at the street were overwhelmed with shock. Ling Su suddenly stood up and put on a defensive stance, his pupils constricted. Who are you? My teacher told me before. Ling Su revealed a look of reminiscence. Don't provoke the strong martial artists of the 13 palaces and people related to Southern Cross constellation. When the two of them left, the first elder sat back on the sofa. Only then did he realize, unknowingly, his entire body was drenched in sweat, and he felt weak. We have already paid the deposit, the steward said. As expected of one of the top 50 strong martial artists in the entire Phylan Star, Gu Wu forced himself to calm down. It's not that easy. Ling Su and that mysterious fellow are not to be trifled with. And there's still Mu Lei. Little friend, Hua Rong said expressionlessly. Where are things? The unusual silence revealed that this was the calm before the storm. Ling Su knew that Bing was not in danger and kept his spear, but he was unhappy with Bing's gaze and snorted, I forgot. Hua Rong acted as though he did not hear anything. His pair of cold eyes gazed at the first elder. We are very busy and have no time to delay with you guys. The Hua brothers. Gu Xiong did not have his usual calmness. Sitting on the chair, his face was gloomy and laughed bitterly. This time we have miscalculated. Ling Su's betrayal just happened to give this old fellow an excuse to exert his strength, and we have wasted our efforts. Really? Huh. Your foresight is indeed not bad. In front of Ling Su's black face, the elated Tang Tian continued to speak to Bing. Hey, uncle, Don't be so fierce. It's not good to scare little kids. Yes. Tang Tian's face was strange. You've heard of the Southern Cross constellation? He said to Hua Sha. Let's go. You want to go to the Southern Cross constellation? Ling Su stared at Tang Tian's face, as though there was a flower on Tang Tian's face, and did not blink. I'm counting on the two of you. In front of such strong martial artists, the first elder did not dare to put on airs. Spirit General? Ling Su looked at Bing suspiciously. Your Spirit General is the same as you. Quite different. Tang Tian's face had an expression of as expected, and said to Bing, See, I told you. The butler was stunned. He could not help but recall. He said uncertainly, slightly boring, not really talkative, not very happy, seems to be uninterested in anything. Ling Su, this ingrate. Ingrate. When did we ever owe him anything? He actually changed sides? Asshole. We can't let him go like this. Definitely not. The first elder raised his hand to stop the butler from scolding and said calmly, Sooner or later it will have to be given. I have confidence in the two of you. Go, bring the money that we have prepared. The cold aura that belonged to a strong martial artist pressured every corner of the room. The entire Black Mountain City was abnormally quiet. All the families were restraining their own families. The prosperous Black Mountain City was even a little withered. The huge street was empty, not a single person. The others who are willing to accept this job are only the Hua brothers. The butler said, the first elder of the Gu clan. Among the elders of the Gu clan, his prestige was unparalleled. It was under his management. The power of the first branch was much more outstanding than the other branches. Chapter 143. Boiling fresh blood and fighting spirit was boiling hot. Scram! Ling Su was enraged. But he suddenly tilted his head and asked, Are they stronger or Zia? Hua Sha dragged the mace backwards. He was like a wild beast running wildly. The mace rubbed against the ground behind him and created dazzling sparks. He dragged the sparks along the way and ran madly. Dong! Tang Tian's last step on the ground was like a cannonball and suddenly disappeared. Defeat him. The mace with dazzling sparks was flung out from his right leg. But everyone could not help but hold their breaths. Their gazes, without exception, were all fixed on the Hua brothers. Their eyes were filled with fanatical anticipation. They had no doubts about the outcome. But they wanted to see with their own eyes these top fighters of Phylan Star who only existed in legends and rarely seen in person, how magnificent they would win. The crazy murderous intent on Hua Sha's face suddenly froze. Hua Sha's pupils suddenly contracted. Tang Tian's last step coincidentally struck at the moment when he launched his attack. He had no time to change his move. Well said. Domineering. Tang Tian clapped with a gratified expression. As the boss, I admire you very much. Do you want the left side or the right side? You choose first, in case you have another excuse when I save you later. Kill them, Hua Sha said in a low voice. Top 50. Tang Tian's expression also turned solemn. This guy is not simple. Both sides are not even on the same level. Without hesitation, Tang Tian used all his strength and threw himself out. Watching Ling Su and Tang Tian coming towards them, Huarong's indifferent face revealed a mocking smile. I can't tell. Our two little friends are quite brave. Do not belittle this half a second. In a battle between experts, a flaw of 1/10 of a second was already rather dangerous. So this is what a top-notch expert looks like. Before Ling Su opened his mouth, Tang Tian pointed his thumb at himself and said with a smug face, Ling Su, fight bravely like a godlike young man. But his gaze did not waver. Maybe I've never seen it before. I bet 5 moves. No, we have to play with them. I haven't met such brave little friends in a long time. Huarong squinted his eyes, and a hint of mockery flashed across his eyes. Such little friends can play with us for a while. This was a battle without any suspense. The top 50 experts of Humble Forest Planet, in the entire Humble Forest Planet's food chain, were all at the top. The so-called top fighters of Black Mountain City, in front of such fighters, were as weak as dolls. Ling Su might have a bright future ahead of him, but right now, He could only do whatever he wanted in Black Mountain City. Hua Sha shook her head and said in a low voice, I don't like to play. Look, they are rushing over. There's nothing to see. 10 moves? I bet they won't last 10 moves. Anyone want to bet with me? Teacher, not good. Tang Tian was like a flash of lightning, rushing towards Hua Sha. Tang Tian did not even turn his head. His gaze was fixed on Hua Xiong on his left, his heart blazing with fighting spirit. On any planet, to be able to enter the top 50 was definitely strong. Although Phylon Star was the lowest level planet under Onyx Soul, but the average standard of Phylon Star's martial artists was much stronger than the fallen immortal constellation. No, Tang Tian stretched out a finger and shook it lightly. There is a very fair battle in front of us. One for you, one for me. Whoever defeats the opponent first wins. How about it? Ling Su, do you dare? That's right, throw them out. When the figures appeared on the streets, Ling Su's eyes suddenly shrunk and his heart sank. The two figures rushing towards the Hua brothers were so small and insignificant, so weak. Looking forward to sparring with Xia. Such words, in these 10 years in the entire Phylon Star, no one dared to say it. Xia. Mu Lei's spirit was slightly lifted. He remembered that Tang Tian was the one who could escape from Xia. With a body the size of a small hill and the incomparably heavy wolf fang mace, Hua Sha's every step shook the earth and mountains when she ran. Hua Rong, who was sprinting, started to relax his wrists. The copper rod pressed down lightly. The calm expression on his face gradually disappeared. His murderous aura rose rapidly. The heavy brass rod in his hands was like a light cicada's wings, vibrating rapidly. Oh! Tang Tian's gaze locked onto the Hua brothers who were walking towards them leisurely. There was no fear in his heart, only a burning desire to fight. Such a pity. I have been looking forward to sparring with Xia again. If he could not even defeat Hua Sha, how could he challenge Xia? But there was no fear in his heart. The wind blew on his face. His short blue hair rippled like waves, his orange-red eyes leaping with flames. Bullshit. Who's trembling? Ling Su flew into a rage. I'll be afraid? Just these two fellows want me to be afraid? I can beat the shit out of them with one hand. It was as if they could see Ling Su and Tang Tian in the next second, like a loose scarecrow, completely crushed by the Hua brothers. Among them, no one could maintain their composure in the face of such a wild attack. The one who answered Tang Tian's question was Mu Lei. This Iron Man's face was filled with despair. His voice was hoarse, very powerful. They are the only two brothers to fight their way into the top 50 of Phylon Star. A figure with a sharp edge stretched out entered Hua Sha's vision without warning. Like a pair of scissors sweeping across the sky, it appeared below his left leg. Save me? Ling Su's eyes were red. You said I will lose? You still want to save me with your lousy skills? Come on, let's fight first, Duel. Let me tell you, I've long found you an eyesore. The two brothers had different personalities. The difference was huge. Hua Rong was more shrewd and cunning. Hua Sha was much more dull, but not only was Hua Sha born with superhuman strength, he was even more talented in martial arts and fought like a wild beast. As the distance between the two shortened rapidly, the voices of discussion disappeared instead. Still Xia? Ling Su laughed coldly. Think about how to fight today. These two bears are not ordinary bears. With that bit of strength of yours, you will probably be beaten to the shit out of you. The ground shook and interrupted Hua Rong's words. He turned his face in dissatisfaction. The movement just now was caused by Hua Sha casually placing the double-headed mace on the ground. Mu Lei stared blankly at Tang Tian. He was stunned by Tang Tian's arrogant words. Now, Hua brothers. Everything around him became a blur. Only Hua Sha's movements he could barely catch. Suddenly, Tang Tian's pupils contracted. His eyes caught a movement of Hua Sha's wrist. Hua Sha carried the double-headed mace with one hand, took big strides, and started running. Uncle Mu, watch out for other people's sneak attacks. Gu Shue's face was pale without a trace of blood, but she still sat upright and did not panic too much. Don't tell me they don't know the Hua brothers? Even while sprinting, Tang Tian's body was leaning forward by a large margin. He still held his head up. Hua Sha, who was magnifying rapidly in his eyes, was indeed imposing. That crazy murderous intent was enough to tear everything into pieces. A strong sense of danger lingered in his mind. His instincts had already given him a warning. Even the onlookers, in the face of the Hua brothers' crazy aura and murderous intent, all turned pale with fright. He was actually a full half a second later than him. His tone suddenly became awe-inspiring. What's his name? Ling Su. I heard he's a prodigy with a lot of potential. There's nothing more exciting than destroying such a prodigy. Come on, big black bear, witness the prowess of this godlike young man. So impatient. Huarong shook his head. He could not do anything to his own brother, but the next moment, he too disappeared on the spot. This thought in Tang Tian's mind was so strong that he almost wanted to roar out loud. Tang Tian suddenly raised his head. He stood up and looked towards the end of the street. Half a second later, Ling Su also sensed the opponent's aura. He also felt a chill in his heart. Holding his silver spear, he stood up. He glanced at Tang Tian with some surprise. This guy's senses were really sharp. Rumble, rumble. As the two parties got closer, the crowd did not even dare to breathe loudly. Gu and Xiong's face also revealed a shocked expression. Ling Su's expression, as though he was facing a formidable enemy, made Tang Tian slightly shocked and hurriedly asked, "Is he very powerful? This guy is really arrogant. Anger can't solve the problem, young man." Tang Tian's eyes locked on the two people walking over, his expression cold, and spat out 4 words, "I'll take the left, you take the right. My target is Zia." Gu Shui watched the internal conflict between the two dumbfounded. Are Ling Su and that kid crazy? They actually rushed over. Gu Wu stared blankly at the street below, his face full of disbelief. A brand new life? Using a battle to declare the beginning, there's nothing better than this. Ling Su's gaze immediately turned to the distance. He was a little curious about the upcoming opponent. Based on his understanding of the Great Elder would definitely fight back heavily. All right. Huarong looked helpless. Up to you, but don't snatch mine. Oh my god, they actually didn't run. Tang Tian retorted sarcastically. Loser, go away. Hey, why are your legs shaking? TSK, if you're afraid, just hide behind Gu Shui. Yaya will protect you. Ling Su's heart was filled with a kind of new emotion, like a bright ray of sunshine shining through the hazy weather. He did not know why he was so touched. He quickly put this inappropriate emotion to the back of his mind, waiting for the next battle. Not only them, everyone who was watching this battle at this time could not believe their eyes at this time. His eyes were firmly locked on that domineering figure. The wind whistled in his ears like a howling horn, urging him to move forward. The speed of both sides was very fast, like 2 meteorites colliding head-on. Before the voice died away, Ling Su rushed out with a whoosh. Chapter 144. Tang Tian took down Hua Sha in one move, which made everyone's jaws drop. In the battle between Ling Su and Huarong, he actually did not fall into a disadvantageous position. The concentrated sounds of the spear and rod clashing and the countless sparks in the air did not stop. This guy's brute force was even stronger than a Maori, that freak. If the two of them could last more than 100 moves, it would be enough to make them famous. But this battle suddenly became interesting. Tang Tian used all his strength in this move and was unable to stabilize his body and flew out more than 10 feet, sticking close to the ground. The rod technique that he trained was cicada wing rod, which was a rod technique that walked the path of lightness. But he was ingenious and instead used the extremely heavy brass rod. Although his strength was not as terrifying as Hua Sha, but his arm strength was equally shocking. Speed and weight were ingeniously blended together, and it was amazing. The 1.6 tall Hua Sha had shrunk a few sizes and did not have the slightest sense of strength anymore. Even the ferocious look on his face had become gentle and refined. Tang Tian's newly invented technique of exerting strength was suddenly unleashed. This is a hint of greed flashed past his eyes. An armor set in Phylan Star was definitely a rare item. Not to mention Phylan Star, even in Onyx Soul, an armor set's value was rather high, and this guy's armor was obviously not an ordinary item. Hua Rong's rod technique was actually forcefully blocked by this pointed sea spear. The resistance of the pointed sea spear was extremely strong. The spear and rod had clashed countless times, but not once. Hua Rong felt that the brass rod in his hands had hit something solid. The tip of the spear was dotted with starlight, dots of silver cold light. Lit up in the air, 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8, in the blink of an eye. In front of him was a vast sea of stars. Oh my God! Oh my God! What am I seeing? In the chamber of the 18 bronze figures, whenever his sense of danger was so intense, it meant that he was going to be eliminated. Why was he there? The crowd had yet to recover from the shock. An extremely solid square tablet seal appeared above Tang Tian's head. The soundless blue quickly spread over Tang Tian's body. In the blink of an eye, the peacock armor had already covered him. At this time, he didn't care whether others would find out that he was an honorable Martial Alliance member. Today's battle meant death if he lost. Although Hua Rong did not take Ling Su seriously, he was cunning and suspicious by nature, so he did not attack wildly like Hua Sha. The brass rod in his hand was as fast as lightning. If that's all you've got, you're dead meat. Everyone was dumbfounded. His arms were so numb that he could barely feel them. This fellow is dangerous. Bloodline? Tang Tian was unsure. His heart had an instinctive sense of danger, like dark clouds surging in from all directions. Everyone was in disbelief. Their faces were lifeless as they unconsciously exclaimed in surprise. The scene that had just happened had completely driven them into madness. Looking at Hua Sha struggling to get up from the ground, covered in dust, it could be seen that his fall just now was a solid one. Hua Rong's face darkened. His brass rod was extremely fast, and the rod aura that he wielded was as thin and transparent as a cicada's wings. But today, his ever-victorious rod skills met with stubborn resistance. Hua Sha's fierce gaze revealed a cruel smile. His mountainous body actually started to shrink at a speed visible to the naked eye. Cries of surprise like this suddenly exploded in the crowd of onlookers from afar. Today, he finally met someone who could match him in the field that he was most proud of. This was not the first time Tang Tian felt such a strong sense of danger. Boom! If he couldn't even win this fellow, how could he challenge Zia? Hua Sha's eyes widened, his heart filled with shock. This was the first time he had encountered a martial artist who could compete with him in terms of strength. And the fellow in front of him, his physique was too deceiving. But this scene happened right in front of him. Tang Tian swung his arm, trying to get it to regain its senses as he stared at Hua Sha. That fellow was definitely not any better than him. But if he were to strike again, he would definitely be injured. The peacock had been nourished by Tang Tian's silver martial spirit for this period of time, and had regained some of its former glory. Tang Tian felt that his entire body was enveloped by a lively true power, and the originally sensitive touch extended far away. How was that possible? The intense pain instead made him more ferocious. Hua Sha roared. His left fist pounded hard on his chest. His right leg suddenly exerted strength, and he charged towards Tang Tian. Tang Tian's expression changed. The instinctive sense of danger was so strong that the true power in his body was churning uncontrollably. A bloodthirsty glow surfaced in his eyes, and his open mouth became more and more sinister. This attack, Hua Sha did not hold back at all. Now that he was forcefully blocked, he did not feel good either. He retreated 7 to 8 steps before regaining his balance. The 600 caddy, mace in his hands, swung up. A powerful treasure, its own strength and martial spirit, could be shared with the martial artist. Bam! If someone had told him before that there was someone faster than him on Phylan Star, and that this person was a nobody, he would never have believed it. The limestone slabs within a radius of 5 feet around Tang Tian turned into fine powder. How long could the two youths last? Tang Tian was dumbstruck. Such fast spear skills. Hua Sha's heart. Look, Ling Su. Suddenly, someone screamed from the crowd. Although Tang Tian's strength surprised Hua Sha, but he grinned. Both his arms went numb. Tang Tian groaned, his eyes wide open in anger, the horse stance that looked like it was about to fall apart. But he stood firm. But a huge force came, his feet sank, and the sole of his feet sank into the limestone slabs. Shock flashed across Hua Sha's pupils. Hua Sha only felt a huge force coming from his left leg, and his entire body was shoved up by the strong force. When Tang Tian finished turning around, Hua Sha had already crawled up from the ground. As long as they did not provoke a terrifying fellow like Zia, the two of them could do whatever they wanted. With the armor on, Tang Tian's courage grew, and with a roar, facing Hua Sha's mace, Tang Tian lowered his waist into a horse stance and used a great monument palm. The Hua brothers' glorious victory as expected did not happen, and the expected one-sided situation did not happen either. Tang Tian, who was sticking close to the ground, his feet in front, his body leaning backwards. His legs drew out two streaks of snow-white light, crisscrossing in the air like a pair of open scissors. Huarong was shocked and suspicious. In terms of strength, the godlike youth had never been afraid of anyone. In the blink of an eye, the Hua Sha in front of Tang Tian shrunk from 1.95 meters to 1.6 meters. Everyone's gaze instinctively turned to Ling Su and Huarong. Moreover, Tang Tian wanted to win. These two words suddenly appeared in a few people's minds, but immediately after, they felt that this thought was too ridiculous and immediately threw it to the back of their minds. The two little fellows only managed to hold off the Hua brothers' victory. That was still far from it. How is it possible? How could he defeat Hua Sha? But such two strong people were forcefully held off by two 17 to 18 years old nameless children. Hua Sha seemed oblivious. That pair of beast-like eyes stared fiercely at Tang Tian. He did not conceal his murderous intent and rage. He was actually injured. And there was the armor. This was the true strength of the honorable martial alliance. Hua Sha stared at Tang Tian in front of him. He was ugly and fierce to begin with, and now, with a gloomy face, he looked even more terrifying. Half of the trousers on his left calf was sliced off, a terrifying scissor-shaped wound extended along the calf bone to both sides. Fresh blood flowed out of the wound, snaking down the calf, and soaked his left sole. Dong, dong, dong. Almost instantly, Tang Tian made a judgment and growled, "Peacock." But maybe victory? I'm not seeing things right. I must be seeing things. The great monument palm print above Tang Tian's head showed cracks and shattered with a ping. His great monument palm print was extremely hard and had never been broken before, but today it was forcefully shattered. Fast as lightning, this was one of the things he was most proud of. Compared to Hua Sha, his strength was far behind, but compared to speed, Hua Sha was also far behind. Even among the top 50 martial artists on File and Star, there were many who were stronger than him, but those who were faster than him could be counted on one's fingers. The exclamations gradually quieted down. People suddenly realized they needed to start re-examining this battle that they originally thought had no suspense. The terrifying low howl made everyone's heart go numb. A deep, earthy yellow light enveloped the mace in an instant, including Tang Tian. A whole radius of 50 feet was within the range of Hua Sha's attack. Such a collision of pure strength. There were almost no tricks to speak of. Ling Su, where did this fellow come from? Suddenly, a sound similar to a strong heartbeat entered Tang Tian's ears. Tang Tian could not help but be stunned. What was this? As he followed the sound to find the source of the sound, his expression changed slightly. The spectators became excited. 20 moves? 50 moves? Woo woo woo. The sound of a heavy object falling to the ground came from behind. It was a pity that this was a good opportunity for an additional attack. Tang Tian quickly regained his composure. It was already not easy for him to make Hua Sha suffer a loss in the first encounter. Tang Tian was very clear. The battle had just begun. Tang Tian suppressed the shock in his heart. His body shook slightly. Pa! The dust on his body bounced into the air, forming a human shape, and dissipated. Only then did he slowly stand up straight, exhaled a long breath, but his eyes were cold. These were the Hua brothers. They were able to fight their way into the top 50 of Phylon Star, the top elites on this planet. They could do whatever they wanted on this planet. In this tiny black mountain city, they could only tremble under their feet. Originally, he thought that this mission was just a formality. Hua Rong and the rest had long qualified to leave Phylon Star. With his and Hua Sha's strength, it was definitely not a problem to get a seat on the Onyx Soul car outside. But once they left Phylon Star, although they could earn more, the risk was also higher. It was nowhere as comfortable as Phylon Star. Chapter 145. Hua Sha's strength and speed had reached a shocking level, but his martial techniques were not as strong as his speed and strength. If before the blue peacock shattered, Tang Tian had not thought away, then he would be in real danger. But this was not enough. Hua Sha's strength was twice as strong as before, and what was more dangerous was this fellow's speed had also become rather shocking. The intuition that he had always been proud of was actually useless in that attack just now. It was not that he did not give up on the battle, but he did not give up on victory. Tang Tian's physical body was definitely unable to withstand such a terrifying attack. From the appalling peacock armor, Bing knew that the blue peacock was at its limit. Too strong. Almost at the same time that Tang Tian flew out, Hua Sha's figure disappeared again. In his panic, he had no time to react and could only cross his arms in front of his chest. The attacks on his back did not slow down, but the eyes that were curled up in his arms suddenly opened. He thought of a way. Hua Sha smiled slightly. Good eyesight. Dwarf blood meridians. He silently counted the attacks on his back and adjusted his breathing. When the 28th mace touched his back, he suddenly stretched his body. The current power system was beyond recognition. There were too many contents that he was unfamiliar with, but how to dig out potential was the field that he was most proficient in. The strength of the dwarf blood meridians surprised him. Tang Tian's vision blurred again, and it was exactly the same as before. Almost in an instant, Tang Tian did not have time to make a blocking posture. The terrifying power crashed hard into his arm, and his entire body flew out like a sandbag. Finally, unable to withstand it, Hua Sha seemed to see the Tang Tian who had lost his protection and was blasted into a pile of minced meat. The bloodthirsty light in his eyes intensified. His mouth, full of teeth, were all covered in blood. Bang, bang, bang. His heart was still filled with the desire for victory, even in such a hopeless situation. The mace smashed heavily on his back. His vision almost turned black, and he felt that his back was almost broken. However, he knew that this was his only chance. Enduring the sharp pain, his body was as soft as noodles. Borrowing the momentum, he rolled back towards the mace, and at the same time, hooked his leg backwards. Tang Tian was the youth with the most potential he had ever seen, but Tang Tian clearly did not realize how great his potential was. In Bing's eyes, a trace of anxiety and worry flashed past. Tang Tian felt like he'd been hit head-on by a wild beast. His vision darkened, and he was sent flying. Tang Tian struggled to hold on. Every time the staff struck him, he felt like his body was about to fall apart. However, he knew that if he gave up, he wouldn't stand a chance at all. Bing was an instructor. He had seen many of these so-called geniuses, but in the end, they squandered their time and talent and became mediocre. But no one noticed. Unknowingly, Tang Tian had been hit more than 20 times. The faint blue peacock armor was now in tatters. The power of every blow was terrifying, and the feather armor was shattered and scattered. The battle entered a one-sided rhythm. Tang Tian was like a ball that was constantly being hit. Hua Sha was so calm and unruffled. The terrifyingly heavy mace in his hands was as light as a feather, and he waved it around like he was swatting a fly. Although Tang Tian tried to dodge at the last moment, but he still could not avoid it. He was like a puppet that was lifted up and flew into the sky. Although he had the protection of the armor, Tang Tian was still unable to escape. He felt a sweetness in his throat, and was about to spit out a mouthful of blood. Ever since Hua Sha activated the dwarf blood meridians, Tang Tian did not even have a chance to retaliate. Hua Sha's attacks were like a storm, so dense that it was terrifying. He did not even give him a chance to breathe or think. A continuous 20 blows, and with every blow, Tang Tian had to endure immense pain. He curled his body and endured it forcefully. After suffering 20 blows, Tang Tian did not suffer for nothing. He discovered Hua Sha's weakness, martial techniques. Suddenly, his vision blurred. His hand tightened, and a hand grabbed his right hand. Moreover, this fellow did not lack battle intelligence. Although he looked unreliable normally, but Tang Tian, who entered battle mode, had quick reflexes. That blow just now, he was injured, but Tang Tian knew that the situation was dire. Hua Sha's attacks would definitely follow, and would not stop here. Tang Tian's pupils widened. Tang Tian's eyes locked on Hua Sha, but he felt increasingly uneasy. Tang Tian was facing a formidable enemy, and did not dare to slack off. Suddenly, his vision blurred, and Hua Sha disappeared. Dwarf blood meridians, what a weird name, hooked. With Bing's eyesight, he found a few places that Tang Tian could use and improve, but he did not intend to remind Tang Tian. Bing watched the battlefield quietly. He took in Tang Tian's sorry figure, and Hua Sha's dwarf blood meridian surprised him. In their era, the exploration of power was far from what it was today. The current power system had too many new areas that he was not familiar with. The frail figure and the faint smile on Hua Sha's face were filled with an awe-inspiring power. Be careful, that's the dwarf blood meridians. Mu Lei's exclamation came from behind. His voice was trembling, with a strong sense of panic. Tang Tian, who was just sent flying, swallowed the fresh blood that rushed to his throat. His body curled into a ball, and he roared, "Peacock!" His martial techniques were not strong. How could he make use of this weakness? Such a strong person, they could not even think of resisting. So strong. The shrunken version of Hua Sha was like a different person. The hideous face also became delicate and refined. The bulging muscles disappeared, and in its place was a well-proportioned and even somewhat frail figure. No matter what, Tang Tian could not connect the refined Hua Sha in front of him with a barbaric Hua Sha just now. Tang Tian stared at Hua Sha, his face dark, his mind working quickly. But he did not make a move, even though Tang Tian looked so pathetic, like he could die at any time. He was still waiting for Tang Tian's counterattack. Tang Tian casually wiped the bloodstain from the side of his mouth, his gaze locked onto Hua Sha, his mind desperately trying to think of a way. The somewhat frail hand picked up the mace lightly. The double-headed mace, that was more than one, 8 meters, was taller than Hua Sha in front of him, but the 600 caddy double-headed mace was as light as a straw in Hua Sha's hands. This strange and unfamiliar name made Tang Tian, for the first time, feel the power of the blood meridians directly. How is it? Is this power stronger than just now? But Hua Sha did not intend to let Tang Tian think slowly. Tang Tian's back was in severe pain. His entire body was like a falling meteorite, smashing into the limestone slabs with a whistling sound. No one would have thought that even in such a desperate situation, Tang Tian still did not give up. If it was said that pure power was not enough to make people fearful, then the perfect combination of power and speed made Hua Sha's danger level rise exponentially. How to fight? At a speed so fast that they could not catch, Hua Sha would always appear in the air beside Tang Tian like a ghost. Tang Tian, who made everyone's eyes light up just now, did not even have a single counterattack. His exertion was not sufficient. He should be practicing the hammer skills, but the use of true power was not very good. Tang Tian's face appeared out of nowhere, suddenly appeared in front of him, grinning at him. In the next moment, he appeared beside Tang Tian, the double-headed mace in his hands, struck fiercely on Tang Tian's waist. The process of potential turning into ability was always accompanied by pain, failure, and struggle. Without these, potential would forever be potential. In midair, the thin and weak Hua Sha made a nimble turn and landed on the ground. A faint smile on his face, the double-headed mace in his hands was still swinging like a windmill. Compared to his shocking power and speed, his martial techniques were indeed much weaker. If Hua Sha's martial techniques were equally strong, then this battle, Tang Tian would definitely have no chance of winning. Because this was a confident, unyielding, and ambitious fellow who hated failure. Even if he fell into a predicament, he would never sink, never stop resisting, never stop struggling. Without thinking, the leg hooked onto the mace suddenly exerted force, and like a snake, he swung behind him. Tang Tian's current ability was not strong enough, but it was already starting to shine. The peacock feathers behind him spread out, like a peacock spreading its tail. So fast. Poof! That was an astonishingly huge treasure trove. Hua Sha saw Tang Tian curled up into a ball and was finally blasted away by him, and was instantly overjoyed. Tang Tian curled up into a ball. His vital parts were tightly protected, and there was almost no place for him to strike. Bang! Tang Tian was completely in a passive situation. Hua Sha's speed was too fast for him to catch. The powerful attacks made him even more miserable. He could only curl up into a ball like a hedgehog and forcefully endure the attacks. 25-26, swoosh. The spectators were all pale. They finally understood what was Phylon Star's top 50. Tang Tian was thinking hard. There must be a chance. There must be a flaw. There must be hope. Young man, if you can find a way, you can win. You can definitely go further. Bing tried his best to calm himself down. He believed that Tang Tian would definitely not give up. But Hua Sha did not have the slightest bit of carelessness. The attacks came wave after wave without any pause. The mace brought along a strong sound of wind and smashed onto the surface. A blurry figure suddenly appeared in Tang Tian's vision. Hua Sha's voice traveled into Tang Tian's ears. Tang Tian, who was lying on the ground, struggled to get up. He stared fiercely at Hua Sha, a trickle of blood trickling down from the corner of his mouth. The cold feeling from his feet made Tang Tian ecstatic. The scene in front of him was so strange, so uncoordinated, but no one could laugh, including Tang Tian. Especially when Hua Sha's frail wrist flipped lightly. The heavy mace spun in his hands like a windmill. Bing chanted silently in his heart. His deep gaze shone with anticipation. But like other geniuses, all the potential had to be continuously excavated, squeezed before it could possibly become an ability. Otherwise, they could only forever stay in that unknown deep mountain, quietly sleeping. Chapter 146. Boom! The star sea vanished in an instant, while the tip of Ling Su's spear was enveloped in a dazzling silver glow. Hua Sha's heart was thumping wildly. The white bird vortex had disrupted his vision, while Tantoe blade had attracted his attention. Hua Sha was shocked and suddenly exerted strength. The hand that was freed faced these white vortexes and pierced straight into the ground. Poof! Different from Tang Tian's wretched state, Ling Su's strength was out of everyone's expectations. Tang Tian sat on the ground, panting desperately. He could not believe it. He won. When his spear passed through the star sea, the entire star sea drew out countless rays of silver flowing light and sank into Ling Su's spear tip. Thump! Hua Sha had thought of all kinds of Tang Tian's reactions, such as escaping, but he had never thought that Tang Tian would actually take the initiative to close the distance between them. Hua Sha quickly understood Tang Tian's intention, to entangle his hand, and then his advantage in speed could not be used. The white burr vortex that was rushing over with a strong rotation, there were many of them. Hua Sha's body was like a turbulent sea wave. He could not stabilize his body at all. Tang Tian's entire body instantly lit up with a dazzling blue light. The light was so dazzling that one could not look straight at it. Countless rays of blue light shot out from Tang Tian's body like a rainstorm, engulfing Hua Sha, who was just inches away. Compared to the stalemate on Ling Su's side, the situation on Tang Tian's side was obviously more eye-catching. Hua Sha's heart trembled. One must know that his true power was much more vigorous than Tang Tian. By right, he should be able to block it easily. But within Tang Tian's true power, there was an extremely sharp force. It actually broke through Hua Sha's true power that was wrapped around his palm. This was... Wait a minute. Where's he? His eyes suddenly flashed a trace of ruthlessness. With a roar, he gathered all the strength in his body and pulled Tang Tian into his bosom with his right hand. At the same time, he drew in his abdomen and arched his back. With his left hand protecting his vitals, he used his body to ram into Tang Tian. From beginning to end, Ling Su's attacks gave off a lukewarm feeling. No matter how his opponent attacked, he just kept unleashing sea after sea of stars. It looked like an ordinary stab, and when it was thrust out, there was not the slightest whistling sound, but the surrounding specks of starlight were attracted to the spear tip. Warsaw was very experienced in battle. He immediately realized that his situation was very dangerous. His opponent was very good at close combat, and he could always predict in advance. It would be terrible if they were to remain in such a passive position. He felt a sharp pain in his left palm, as if he had been cut twice by a knife. The corner of Hua Sha's eyes twitched. This grab missed. San Huarong saw Hua Sha falling face up and cried out in grief. His eyes turned red and he roared, "I'm going to kill you." The head of the first branch gazed at the scene. He almost could not believe his own eyes. Ling Su was actually able to contend against Huarong. Suddenly, his heart was filled with regret. The one they let go was actually a super strong fighter who could fight his way into the top 50 of Phylon Star. Tang Tian's breathing was heavy. His mind was blank. He did not even have the strength to move a finger. Seeing that his hand was about to touch Tang Tian's shoulder, suddenly, from the corner of his eyes, there seemed to be something below him. Before he could react, a puff of white air mass rushed up from below. Opening. Hua Sha was taken aback. These white balls of air were extremely fast, like a flock of white birds, suddenly rushing towards his face. His eyes were completely blocked. Like a wooden stake, Hua Sha fell on her back. Hua Sha's strength was too great. With a full pull, Tang Tian could not even stabilize his body. Seeing that both parties were about to collide, a glint flashed past Tang Tian's eyes. Hua Sha did not expect that he would actually be at a disadvantage. Tang Tian's attack came and went like a ghost. There was no trace to follow. And it was fast. Not just pure speed, but the rhythm was fast. There was no time to think about it now. The final juncture. The third type. But close combat, you are too naive. The scene was spectacular. Ling Su's face was as determined as a rock. His orange-red eyes seemed to have something breaking out of the cocoon of flames. He shouted solemnly, "Righteous origin heart." These two words had just surfaced in his mind. Suddenly, two rays of cold light went straight for Hua Sha's chin, tan to a blade. Hua Sha's expression changed slightly. The raging true power, like a tide, drilled into his body. Luckily, Hua Sha had already sensed the peculiarity of Tang Tian's true power from the Tan to blade earlier, and was unusually vigilant this time. So when Tang Tian's palm imprinted on his waist, he was already prepared to block the crane body energy. Time seemed to have stopped. When the light dissipated, two entangled figures, like statues, appeared in front of everyone. A palm was imprinted on his right waist. Heavenly dragon energy. Those martial artists who had lost to Ling Su now realized they did not lose unjustly. Ling Su's spear skills were displayed to the fullest. Today, everyone witnessed Ling Su's true strength with their own eyes. A spear pierced out. Damn it! Hua Sha's expression changed slightly. He suffered a huge loss in the first exchange. It left a deep impression on him. His empty left hand was prepared to slap towards them, when suddenly a huge force came from his right hand. Hua Sha's body swayed. Both parties strangely fell into a stalemate again. Tang Tian could feel Blue Peacock's emotions. Excitement, pain, anticipation. Half a step away from him, Hua Sha stood frozen on the spot, his eyes wide open. His entire body was pierced with faint blue feathers, like a hedgehog. There were also countless bloody holes with fresh blood flowing out. Faced with Tang Tian's sudden attack, Hua Sha was caught off guard. Ling Su took a step forward, raised a spear, and pierced straight toward Huarong. The aura of this spear, from nothing to something, instantly rose to the extreme. Hiss! This was superb spear skills. Hua Sha was shocked. He hurriedly exerted force with his right hand, stabilizing his body, hoping to pull his body away. However, what he did not expect was his true power first trembled. Like the strings of a zither being plucked, the true power in Hua Sha's body trembled. Not good. Hua Sha's expression changed instantly. He did not expect Tang Tian actually had a second type of energy. Damn it. Ling Su was actually this strong? Hua Sha laughed coldly in his heart. Without hesitation, he let go of the double-headed mace, flipped his wrist, and similarly grabbed onto Tang Tian's arm. The other hand grabbed towards Tang Tian. At such a close distance, the advantage of great strength could be fully displayed. After activating the dwarf, his strength doubled. As long as he could grab hold of any part of Tang Tian's body, he could tear Tang Tian apart with his bare hands. He could feel his opponent being pulled by him, his body swung away. And at this moment, Tan Tui's blade aura also arrived like lightning. Hua Sha's left palm was enveloped with true power and blocked these two Tan Tui blades. In the endless sea of stars, every star was a cold aura pointed out by Ling Su's spear tip. Phylan Star's position in the top 50 did not fall from the sky, but was earned by his own blade and spear. He was very clear of his own weaknesses and was equally adept at displaying his strengths. Not good. Turbulent true power and powerful strength suddenly exploded. Peacock. Tang Tian's roar was like a sudden clap of thunder. His face was still filled with disbelief. Hua Sha felt as though there was a bomb at the right side of his waist. It exploded. But at this moment, his eyes suddenly flashed a piercingly cold ray of light. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The spear tip sprinkled out spots of cold aura in the air. The cold aura was like the sea of stars, layer upon layer. Huarong's brass rod was forcibly blocked by this sea of stars. No matter how Huarong's moves changed, Ling Su turned a blind eye to it. He just continuously brandished out sea of stars one after another. Huarong was once again entangled by this sea of stars. He was actually in a stalemate with Huarong. Hua Sha had enough confidence. He had already tested it earlier. Tang Tian's strength was not his match at all. Dong! Without waiting for him to recover, that burst of true power exploded without any warning. The silver martial spirit that was burning to the extreme spewed out streaks of beautiful silver flames. These silver flames all entered the blue peacock martial spirit. The blue peacock martial spirit was rapidly changing. Even at the risk of being injured, he wanted to disrupt Tang Tian's rhythm. His sprinkling speed became even faster. He did not spend any energy to contend with Hua Sha, but in an instant, he channeled all his true power into the blue peacock. Shiratori whirlpool. The silver light cut across the horizon, dazzling. Everyone subconsciously closed their eyes. Those who did not close their eyes in time saw a vast expanse of whiteness. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Ling Su's true power was not as good as Huarong's, and he had not activated his blood meridians, but he was not at a disadvantage, all because of his spear techniques. It was the first time Huarong encountered such spear techniques, and he actually had no way to deal with it. There was almost no connection between the moves. It was like moving clouds and flowing water, one move after another, tiring him out. Tang Tian, who had recovered a bit of strength, struggled to pull his arm out from Hua Sha's hand. His entire arm was bruised. This guy's strength was too terrifying. That's right, without speed, then use strength, absolute strength. What followed was definitely close combat. In the stalemate, Huarong activated his blood meridians. His blood meridians were different from Hua Sha, called the winged human blood meridians. His originally rather astonishing speed suddenly increased dramatically. The rod shadow could not be seen clearly. Only a curtain of light could be seen. The light dissipated, and the field of vision gradually returned to normal. Just when everyone thought Ling Su would be like Tang Tian, beaten back to his original form, Ling Su actually unknowingly turned back. After getting close, Tang Tian suddenly realized, against Hua Sha's astonishing speed earlier, his instincts that were almost useless suddenly became sensitive again. As one weakened and the other strengthened, the rhythm of the battle fell back into Tang Tian's hands. A few dazzling rays of the blade crisscrossed in the air and suddenly lit up in Hua Sha's field of vision. Hua Sha's body swayed uncontrollably. The palm that was initially about to grab Tang Tian was also knocked away. On Ling Su's face, an indomitable determination surfaced. The current him was like a different person, holding the silver spear. The rays were boundless, like a deity descending to earth. Huarong's chest had a basin-sized wound. It was completely penetrated. The shape was horrifying. Everyone stared blankly at Tang Tian, dead silent. Chapter 147. Yaya's eyes were like the stars in the night sky, twinkling, slipping away, disappearing without a trace. In the next second, it appeared beside Hua Sha's corpse, its little hands grabbing onto Hua Sha's corpse, spreading its legs and dragging Hua Sha with all its might, sprinting towards Huarong. Black and dense like the tide, voices filled with panic in the silence were unusually piercing. Yaya, go drag those two dead men back too, Tang Tian said quietly. He's fine, just exhausted. Mulei's voice came from where Ling Su was. Don't touch him. Damn it. Ling Su was like a wooden stake, falling with a loud bang, raising a cloud of dust. Mrs. eyes were full of determination, as if something was flashing. With Gu and Xiong and Great Elder joining hands, countless practitioners began to appear at the end of the street. Suddenly, Mulei stood up and stared furiously at the street in the distance. Countless stars were spinning in front of Tang Tian, this bastard. Gu and Xiong's eyes were filled with madness. He gritted his teeth and said, Gather all the men. Let's take this chance and get rid of them. Gu Wu was shocked by Gu and Xiong's words. You're crazy? They can even get rid of the Hua brothers. Gu and Xiong's face was ashen, his limbs icy cold. He did not wish for Great Elder to get Gu Shui, but the outcome before his eyes was even harder for him to accept. If Great Elder got Gu Shui, it was only to strengthen his branch in the future, but the conflict between him and Gu Shui was impossible to reconcile. Teacher, I did it, a name that floated in the legends. Yaya, you should learn to speak, Tang Tian said weakly. Ouch, ouch, ouch. She did not lose her composure and suddenly said loudly, Uncle Mu, bring them away. Gu Shui stabilized her emotions. This period of suffering made her grow up rapidly. She began to understand that grief and despair would not be of any help to her situation. She took out a bottle of ointment that she had never seen before and began to apply it on Tang Tian. Her movements were clumsy. Shut up, Gu and Xiong roared angrily. He was like a cornered beast. When they recover, we're dead. Will Gu Shui let you off? How could this godlike young man die here? You have a big dream. You want to go and find your Qianhui. Yaya? Bastard. Are you okay? Clang, 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 clang. Gu Wu was dumbstruck and said with a trembling voice, He won. Whether it was worship, reverence, or fear, no one could deny their strength. Everyone present thought without hesitation that this was a battle with a great disparity in strength. Tang Tian and Ling Su had no chance of winning, not even in theory. The only thing that everyone was interested in was how long they could last, and how stunning the Hua brothers' performance would be. Tang Tian felt a cool breeze on his back, and it was very comfortable. After the big battle, his tensed nerves relaxed. Fatigue and tiredness surged in like a tide. Tang Tian actually fell asleep. Tang Tian stuck his face to the ground, which was full of mud, and laughed foolishly. He did not know how to describe his feelings, and did not know how to celebrate this hard-earned victory. He had no strength left. Mulei had heard this voice before. It was Tang Tian's spirit general. Mulei clenched his teeth and pounced towards Tang Tian. Go, gather everyone. Gu and Xiong's killing intent was revealed. They have killed the Hua brothers and are already a spent force. This is their weakest moment. Dewey, you hold Mulei back. If we don't kill them today, all of us will have to die. I will go look for Great Clan Elder now. If he doesn't want to die, he has to join hands with us." In the dead silence, only Ling Su's whispers could be heard, drifting in the wind. Yaya's small physique, but his strength was much greater than Tang Tian imagined. After dragging a few steps, Yaya started to jog. Yaya was like a boat hauler, shouting a rhythmic tune, jogging all the way, quickly dragging Tang Tian towards the ruins. Passing by a piece of rock, Yaya nimbly jumped over it. Poor Tang Tian, his head bounced off the rock. Tang Tian, who was sprawled on the ground, was rather open-minded. Muley immediately reacted, but Muley saw the endless stream of martial artists at the end of the street, and his face changed. Almost instantly, he understood Great Clan Elder and Gu and Xiong's intention. They wanted to make a comeback while Tang Tian and Ling Su were weak. But no one spoke. Everyone hugged their heads and looked at the messy street in disbelief. They won. These two brats won. Someone hugged his head with both hands and stared blankly at the scene. His face was pale, as though he was shocked. Won? They really won. Seeing the martial artists closing in, their faces were filled with madness and ruthlessness. "Missy, these people are crazy. If they did not succeed, they will vent their anger on you in desperation." Rushing to Huarong's side, his other hand grabbed Huarong, and then he ran back. "Or do I hope you can live?" He saw a few familiar faces. Those were the experts under Gu and Xiong and Great Clan Elder. They were crazily flying along the street, and all of their faces were extremely sinister. The two parties that had joined hands had used all the chips in their hands. Soft murmurs were like a breeze, blowing past Gu Shui's heart. Dust billowed. Yaya dragged two huge fellows that were completely disproportionate to his body. His cheeks were puffed up, and his eyes were wide open, as though he was using all his strength. His tiny body actually made Tang Tian feel an unstoppable and powerful aura, causing Tang Tian to stare in bewilderment. Tang Tian was in so much pain that his entire face turned pale. Yaya pulled his hair and dragged Tang Tian towards Gu Shui's direction step by step. Yaya dragged Hua Sha and Hua Rong to the ruins at an alarming speed. His tiny body fell onto the ground with his belly facing the sky and panted desperately. On his back, there was not a single piece that was unscathed, and it was all bruised. There were thumb-sized bloody holes everywhere, and some had already formed scabs. That was caused by the spikes on the mace. He walked to the line that Ling Su drew. Before many people could react, Yaya dragged Tang Tian back. Tang Tian was relieved and sprawled on the ground, too lazy to move. "Idiot! Collar! Pull the collar!" Gu Shui's concerned voice came from above. Gu Shui knelt on one knee and bent over to check on Tang Tian's body. "Yaya! Yaya! Yaya! Yaya!" Mu Lei's vision darkened, and a shadow enveloped him. His body suddenly froze, and he turned back in shock. Mu Lei rushed to Tang Tian's side like the wind. The moment his hand touched Tang Tian's body, a voice rang beside his ear without warning. A tall figure appeared behind him and blocked the light above his head. A familiar voice rang beside his ear, and Tang Tian opened his eyes. "I'm fine." Tang Tian forced a smile. He felt Gu Shui's hand, helping him to remove his tattered clothes. "You bastard, let go. Uncle Mu." Gu Shui used all her strength and roared at Mu Lei. Yaya, who was standing in front of Tang Tian's face, had a puzzled look and tilted her head. Gu Wu and Wei's faces turned pale. A tall and unadorned bronze figure blocked the sunlight, the deep and cold bronze luster, with the sternness and smoke of the ancient battlefield, passed through countless years and set foot on this land. Gu Shui saw Tang Tian's back, and her face turned pale. She covered her mouth, and her eyes became misty. Tang Tian used his back to block Hua Sha's 20 strikes, and although he had the protection of the peacock armor, he still could not avoid being injured. The two of them seemed to wake up from a dream and hurried down. "They have spirit nuclei on them." Tang Tian's face said, "You know." The saber-toothed tiger's heavy metal feet turned and stepped on the ground, like an ancient war drum, slowly beating. Very quickly, Great Elder's men also started to mobilize. He was also clear this time they had completely offended Gu Shui and Ling Su. If they did not take the opportunity to finish them off, they would definitely die. In Black Mountain City, no one could go against Tang Tian and Ling Su. The Hua brothers actually were killed by two nameless pawns. Yaya's speed was extremely fast and was actually not much slower than Muley. That moment of dazzling blue and silver still lingered on their irises. That moment of brilliance was like a light sword piercing into their soft hearts, leaving a deep mark. But the result of this battle made everyone dumbfounded, and it was dead silent. No, absolutely not. He had put in so much effort, spent a whole 20 years to sit in this position. How could he die so easily? Tang Tian, thank you. Yeah. Unknowingly, Yaya rushed in front of his face. It waved its little arms, making squeaking sounds, its little face excited. But that was the Hua brothers. Gu Shui heaved a sigh of relief. She was most worried that Uncle Mu would hesitate at this time. Her gaze stopped at Tang Tian, who was lying on the ground. For some reason, her heart felt warm. There was no fear, only relief. It was not that she did not know. These people were already crazy. If she fell into their hands, she would be very miserable, but a peaceful smile quietly climbed up her beautiful face. Gu Shui's face turned white. She could see the enemy's determination. This was their last attack. Quickly go. Gu and Xiong suddenly shouted angrily at the two of them. Gu Wu's face turned white. Ha! Very scary, right? Actually, it's okay. It's just a small problem. These injuries only look scary. I'll be fine after a few days of rest. I told you to pull my collar. This was their only chance, the only chance to survive. Gu Shui had the help of two people. Then he and his branch would only have one ending, death. But it's a pity you won't be able to see me activate my blood meridians. Tang Tian was shocked and wanted to rush towards Ling Su, but his legs gave way, and his entire body fell to the ground. His entire body was empty, without any strength. His face hit the ground, a wave of pain. Yaya suddenly grabbed Tang Tian's hair, its little cheeks puffed up, that pair of little eyes opened wide. Tang Tian's body was actually pulled by it, but... Chapter 148. Ever since then, he had never been on the front lines again. Bing, who was smiling, suddenly had a cold expression and rushed out. The distance between the two sides was constantly shrinking. Dewey's speed was extremely fast. He and a few other experts of similar strength rushed to the front. They were like the arrowhead of the team. The wind whistled in their ears. All of them used their light body techniques to the maximum, skimming over the walls, stepping on the roof, advancing together. Poo-pee-you. As long as one of them woke up, they would be dead. But everyone could not help but admire the two of them. To be so decisive and crazy, it was already worthy of respect. Although it was his first time seeing the real thing, but he could still recognize that the 2-meter bronze tiger head armor in front of him was the legendary mechanical weapon. A crazy decision. So strong. Even the soldiers of the Southern Cross Army era would definitely not be able to do such a terrifying thing. The bronze figure was so fast that the naked eye could not catch it. In the blink of an eye, 3 experts had died. The others did not even see how their comrades died. They did not even see clearly. As long as they rushed over, then they would win. But the feeling of the battlefield, he had never forgotten. Leader, if it is not up to standard, don't scold me. Another 2 blood flowers blossomed from the two of them. Even though he was far away, but he was still in awe. Regardless of the body structure or the shape, including the minute patterns, they were all extremely realistic. He had seen countless imitations, but none of them could reach the standard in front of him. Suddenly, the mechanical martial artist on the ground raised his head. This fellow, who exactly was he? It was so similar. The saber-toothed tiger landed on the ground, and the 3 corpses fell from the sky like sandbags, causing dust to rise and fresh blood to cover the ground. One person, no matter how powerful, could not block so many people. Hongguang, I'll leave the mechanical martial artist to you. The rest of you cover. Dewey said angrily, although the opponent's strength was definitely not high. But at this moment, Time was more important than anything else. Quickly settling it was the most important. So what if you became famous after one battle? So what if you killed the Hua brothers? You all have no chance. Countless of roaring figures were like a flood, rushing past him towards the ice-cold, saber-toothed tiger. Far exceeding the number of people, the deafening roars caused Wei's pale face to regain some color. Wei's limbs were ice-cold. His entire body was trembling. His face was full of fear. He could not muster up any courage to resist. The next one would be him. Suddenly, a bronze figure appeared in his field of vision. Let me awaken the deep awe of that name in the world. Yes, what a good imitation. His pupils constricted, mechanical weapons. No matter how powerful the other party was, he was only one person. The dignified and solemn tiger head, the barbed joints, the sharp curved tiger claws, Southern Cross Army, advance. A ray of light seemed to flash past the bronze tiger's eyes. Wei's heart unknowingly tightened and subconsciously blurted out, "Be careful. Puff. Commander, I will fight well and not lose the face of our army." In the blink of an eye, he was the only one left out of the few who had pounced on him. Those bastards always told him to stay at the back with peace of mind and leave the frontline matters to them, or something. At first, he was a little worried that these bastards were unreliable, but later on, he discovered that they were doing quite well. So he was relieved and focused on nurturing new recruits. Bing looked at the figures pouncing over. His heart did not have any fear, but was slightly absent-minded. "Rumble, try my ass. It's like this, if you die, we will burn incense for you." Everyone was shocked by the scene in front of them, and also by Guan Xiong and the great clan elder's decision. Tang Tian and Ling Su had just killed the Hua brothers, which meant that with this battle, the two of them had entered the top 50 of Phylon Star. Under such circumstances, the two houses actually made a move. Were they not afraid that Tang Tian and Ling Su would wake up? This scene was no longer just terrifying, but truly cruel. Suddenly, Wei was stunned. In his eyes, the saber-toothed tiger did not escape, did not dodge, but faced the crowd and squatted down, its bronze arms spread out like wings. But Wei was not the least bit panicked. The standard of a mechanical engineer determined the standard of a mechanical weapon, and the standard of a mechanical weapon determined the standard of a mechanical martial artist. The standard of a mechanical engineer now was not high, and the mechanical martial artist was an even less popular profession, so the standard could be imagined. "No choice. We're almost done for. Don't worry, your place will not be the main point of attack. You just have to hold on for 20 minutes, and I will rush over. How about that? If not, I will find someone else." A mechanical martial artist? The corner of Bing's mouth involuntarily curved into a warm smile. Haha, that's impossible, absolutely impossible. A ridiculous thought suddenly popped up in his mind. Unless he wanted to block everyone by himself? Wei felt that his own thoughts were too laughable. Seemed like he was scared out of his wits by this brat's attack just now. Wei was slightly surprised. Could it be that among these people, there was actually a hidden mechanical martial artist? Wei was most proficient in assassinations. To martial artists like him, all sorts of mechanisms were their natural enemies, and their research in this field was second only to the mechanical engineers. The mechanical weapon in front of him, he could recognize it with one look. It was the classic style of the Southern Cross Army. The surging martial artists rushed towards Gu Shui and the rest with all their might. The ground rumbled. The entire Black Mountain City was shaking. Although you can't see, although the army flag is no longer flying, although there are no more lines of defense, although the glory that we created together has been annihilated in history. Charge! They have no more strength left. I haven't used this move for a long time. I wonder if I'm rusty. A fresh blood flower suddenly blossomed from Hong Guang's chest without any warning. He believed this wave of anger could tear everything apart. The line of defense that was full of holes, the majestic figure that was covered in smoke, and his own broken mechanical weapon. Wei's face turned white. The three people that died were the elites of the two families. Under their encirclement, the opponent easily killed the three of them in one move. At that time, Dewey's face did not have a single trace of blood. That was, even the name of the Southern Cross Army was slowly forgotten. Such a pity. The crazy and ruthless roar spread throughout the entire street. When the black mass of martial artists surged out from the end of the street, everyone who was watching the battle was overwhelmed with shock. Almost in a moment, it appeared behind Hong Guang. Unfortunately, Bing did not give them time to think. Almost in a moment, the figure of the saber-toothed tiger disappeared again. Kill, kill, kill. Captain, incense is very expensive. The group is very poor now. Who would have thought after so many years he would actually step into the battlefield again? Oh, all right. Actually, it was just a small-scale fight, but at least it was considered a battle. The corner of Bing's mouth curled up slightly. He lowered his waist, squatted slightly. His body leaned forward, both his hands spread out like wings. Those enemies that were quickly approaching in his vision were like air in his eyes. It was an extremely simple method of attack, without any fanciful moves, but it had extraordinary lethality. Dewey saw with his own eyes. A martial artist obviously blocked the fist of the saber-toothed tiger, but the bronze-colored fist, as easily as breaking a dead branch, broke the martial artist's arm and pierced through his body. But at this time he did not hesitate and shouted loudly, "Everyone attack! Since only I am still alive." The saber-toothed tiger suddenly disappeared. Good. A boorish man boomed. He held a long-handled pumpkin hammer in his hand. Mechanical martial artists were most afraid of an enemy that could defeat 10 with one strength, because the mechanical weapon was usually not sturdy. Since when did such a strong mechanical martial artist appear? The mechanical martial artist was indifferent. He did not move an inch, causing Dewey to suspect, was this a display item? How long had it been since he entered the battlefield? What was he trying to do? A few martial artists, shot up, drawing a few arcs from all directions. They pounced towards the mechanical martial artist in front of them. Let me try. The saber-toothed tiger was like an emotionless killing machine. He was unstoppable. Every time he attacked, he would definitely take a life. Regardless of whether you dodged or blocked, in front of this saber-toothed tiger, everything seemed to be futile. He reaped lives without any ripples. No one was able to withstand one of his attacks. Suddenly, from the depths of Bing's memories, that was his last battle. After that battle, he went to build the recruit barracks. The heavy saber-toothed tiger landed on the ground lightly, as though there were thick pads of meat on the soles. The cold aura intertwined in the air, whistling in all directions, like an inescapable net. The mechanical martial artists had nowhere to escape. Bing, this one, I'll leave it to you. He could not remember. He did not know when it started. The commander felt that his ability to groom recruits was not bad, and transferred him to be an instructor. Oh, wrong. There was once when the losses were severe, there was no replenishment. The commander felt that there was a need to build a recruit barracks. After that, none of the assholes were willing, and after that, he became the instructor of the recruit barracks. He became more and more outstanding. Everyone praised him, and after that, the recruit barracks added a few more instructors, and he became the chief instructor of the recruit barracks. Then let me protect its glory. Let me wipe away the dust that has accumulated on this name for 1,000 years. The sharp tiger claws did not have any resistance, and pierced through Hong Guang's chest, the saber-toothed tiger's figure once again disappeared. He had never forgotten those days when he followed the commander and the rest to battle everywhere. Elbow strike, fist strike, knee strike. Kill them. The fear in Dewey's heart had long disappeared. The crowd's craziness had infected him. That's right. This was their only chance. The surrounding people were like wild beasts, fighting with their lives on the line, their roars converging into a shocking wave of anger. If only the commander and the rest were here, how good would that be? Oh, you guys would definitely fight for who comes first? Yes, definitely. Commander, I'm alone. Every figure was like an arrow piercing through the air. Chapter 149. It silently pierced through the entire street and stopped at the end of the street. The Battle of the Long Street. Phylan Star was shaken. What are you laughing at? Tang Tian turned his head. a look of confusion on his face. "Did you see that? Hey, 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 grow up, grow up." But Tang Tian's next sentence immediately dismissed it. "All right, you can go to the side and enjoy your feast." With the support of three top-notch martial artists, the Gu family's prestige would reach a peak, and Gu Shui had the recessive snow rainbow blood meridians, and the possibility of her descendants having the snow rainbow blood meridians was extremely high. The next patriarch would bring the snow rainbow blade back to the Gu family. Bing's hoarse shout echoed in the sky. Among the countless roars and roars, it was so lonely. In Tang Tian's vision, there was only a strange cross formed by green vertical and red horizontal intersecting. Tang Tian's eyesight was astonishing. He could clearly see that the saber-toothed tiger's body was charging at high speed, but it still maintained an astonishing stability, as straight as a spear. Suddenly, he was shocked. That was idiot. Ling Su could not stand it anymore. He rolled his eyes, carried his silver spear, and walked straight out. Behind him, the entire street was like a huge blood vessel that had been cut open, countless of blood splattered all at once. The short walls and houses on both sides collapsed from the middle, leaving half of the smooth and neat wall base. The miserable howls were like a belated dirge. In the midst of the chaos, suddenly sounded. "Southern Cross Army, advance." "Uncle Bing." Tang Tian looked at the back view in a daze. His heart suddenly gave birth to a trace of sourness. Gu Shui covered her mouth and chuckled. After a while, she forcefully suppressed her laughter and said, "Oh right, this year, the Gu family has 2 quotas. I've already signed you up. With your strength, you can definitely pass the Star Door trials, and then you can leave Phylon Star." Chi, chi, chi. Blood flowed like a river, and corpses littered the ground. Bing, who opened his arms, as though he was stepping on an indomitable drum beat, rushed towards the torrent. Every time his legs stepped on the ground, he exerted great force. In just a few steps, his speed increased explosively, and his figure suddenly became blurry. The red blade and the green blade swept past, and nothing could stop them for even a moment. It was as if they were slashing through the air. The green and red cross charged into the raging torrent. The saber-toothed tiger's body suddenly lit up with a green light, and the light became brighter and brighter. "Hey, who are you scolding? How dare you use such a tone to talk to your boss? Brat, you're tired of living." Tang Tian glared angrily. Tang Tian divided the spoils of war into 2 equal halves, mainly the soul core and the star stone. He pushed one half to Ling Su and said, "This is your share." Just at this moment, the saber-toothed tiger's right leg suddenly stomped on the ground. This stomp was extremely heavy, and the saber-toothed tiger's foot deeply sank into the hard bluestone slabs. An astonishing power erupted. "Teacher, I miss you." The Hua brothers, as the top martial artists of Phylon Star, naturally had a lot of wealth, and the reward that they just received from the great clan elder had also benefited Tang Tian and the rest. The yearning was like a broken dam, instantly filling up Ling Su's heart. That old figure floated in front of his eyes. That stern and authoritative face was so kind, so warm. But the appearance of 3 top martial artists in Black Mountain City at the same time, the Gu family's reputation did not decrease, but instead increased. Everyone knew the relationship between the 3 of them, and Gu Shui was not shallow. Gu and Xiong and the great clan elder's actions would only lead to the destruction of the 2 families. But to the Gu family, such a loss in exchange for the help of 3 top martial artists was too worth it. The temperature of the tiger's claws that swept through the air at high speed rose rapidly and became bright red. Following that, the bright red followed along the palm and quickly spread to the 2 bronze arms. Without any suspense, the other families immediately elected Gu Shui to become the clan leader, and they obediently handed over all their power. Ling Su glanced at Gu Shui as if he understood something, and then glanced at Tang Tian. The saber-toothed tiger's figure completely disappeared. Gu Shui's face flushed red. She knew that her thoughts were seen through by Ling Su, and immediately became flustered. But hearing Tang Tian scolding, she could not help but burst out laughing. She raised her head again and smiled sweetly. It's better to rely on myself. Ha, yes. Tang Tian immediately became excited. All the people who witnessed this battle in their lives were destined to have an unforgettable nightmare. Tang Tian's loud voice came from below, and Ling Su seemed to have awoken from a dream. He calmed his emotions, rubbed his eyes, calmed his breathing, and leaped down from the roof. Once this news was spread, it immediately caused the mechanical engineers and mechanical martial artists of Phylons start a cheer. The mechanical martial artists had finally produced a top-notch martial artist. Tang Tian saw Ling Su's expression of treating money like dirt and was instantly stunned. Are you sure? However, everyone's attention was focused on Tang Tian and Ling Su. Yaya's eyes immediately emitted a dazzling radiance, and with a pop, he leaped into the air, and both his hands grabbed the spirit nucleus tightly. When he landed, Yaya looked as if he was drunk, dizzy, and had a silly smile on his face. Inside the saber-toothed tiger, Bing's face was full of tears. Hey kid, it's time to split the loot. If you still don't come, I'll pocket it all for myself, Ling Su said with a straight face. Teacher once said, money is the original sin of corruption. Tang Tian was shocked. You still want to activate your blood meridians? Why? It's very dangerous. Aren't you already the clan leader now? Especially Tang Tian. When Tang Tian heard this, he did not hesitate to keep the loot in his bag. He did not find it heavy. Tang Tian said righteously, as the boss, then let me bear these original sins. He then muttered, anyway, I'll ask you for more when I run out of money. Carrying so many things on my body, it's so heavy, it's so annoying. Huasha's ability was stronger than Huarong, and since Tang Tian defeated Huasha, his ability and future were obviously more exciting. Tang Tian was already in the courtyard, laying out the spoils of war. Ling Su hugged his silver spear and sat on the roof in a daze. The setting sun in the distance was already covered by the mountain peaks. Bing was the least valued, even though Bing's green Red Cross scythe was shocking, but mechanical martial artists were too unpopular. And limited by the standard of mechanical weapons, it was even more difficult for mechanical martial artists to improve. In comparison, people felt that Tang Tian and Ling Su had more room for improvement, so naturally they paid more attention to them. Yaya hugged the spirit nucleus and walked to the side shakily, her face full of satisfaction. Clang, 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 clang. On the other hand, Yi stared at the pile of spoils of war, its two chubby little hands rubbing its chest continuously. Hiss. Subconsciously following the green stone slabs, his gaze extended to the distance. A tall bronze figure appeared in his vision. Aya, why are you so stubborn? Tang Tian could not help but say. Everyone had gone through so many trials and tribulations. Their relationship was naturally different from before. Tang Tian had already treated Gu Shui as his own friend, and immediately became anxious for her. Looking at Tang Tian's happy look, Gu Shui only smiled quietly. Using his own strength to eliminate 262 martial artists, this was definitely the strength of the strongest martial artist on Phylon Star. Furthermore, it was an extremely unpopular mechanical martial artist. The loot this time was extremely rich. Ling Su did not care about him, and only left him a back view. The saber-toothed tiger spread out its cross back view, as though it was from ancient times. Tang Tian, who was sleeping soundly, was woken up by some noise. He took out a few items, and Ling Su's gaze could not move away. Teacher, how good would it be if you could scold me again? Ling Su hugged his silver spear and sat down, but he was obviously not very interested in the loot. The beautiful future made everyone choose to obey Gu Shui. Pu. Ling Su glanced at the small mountain and said, you can help me pack it. That's great. Tang Tian was overjoyed and raised his arms and cheered. Don't you have any high-quality goods? Ling Su asked. Tang Tian casually picked up a spirit nucleus and threw it to Yaya. Here for you. Tang Tian stared blankly at everything that was happening in front of him. The green and red cross was like a cross scythe, quietly stabbing into tofu. Teacher, I've mastered it. He opened his eyes in a daze and realized that his face was stuck to the ground, and the hard limestone was trembling slightly. Huh? Tang Tian immediately woke up. For the ground to tremble like this, it meant that there were many people running and trampling. On this long street, there was not a single martial artist who could still stand. In the middle of the limestone on the street, there was a straight and deep cut from the point where the saber-toothed tiger charged to his feet. Ling Su's vision instantly became blurry. Tang Tian was stunned. You guys will have to leave eventually. A gentle smile hung on Gu Shue's face, as if this was a very simple decision. If I activate my blood meridians, I will have the ability to protect myself. Any one of these three battle achievements was enough to cause a sensation in Phylan's star. With the three of them together, it directly caused Phylan's star to explode. Needless to say, the Hua brothers had been famous for a long time, and their positions were stable. To be killed in a one-on-one battle, the opponent's ability would definitely be able to enter the top 50. Heavy metal footsteps, stepping on the mess and blood, slowly moved forward. Green and red cross scythe. The sound of cloth tearing could be heard clearly in such a noisy environment. After this battle, their wallets were immediately filled. Just star coins alone, they had more than 1,000,000, 30 grade 6 spirit nucleus, 70 grade 6 star stones. Didn't you say that if you give birth to a son, he will have snow rainbow blood meridians? Then why don't you give birth to a son and let him protect you? Tang Tian felt that his idea was too good and laughed. After this battle, for the next 10 years, no one will dare to find trouble with you. After 10 years, he will have grown up. Leader, the things you taught me, I have not forgotten. The Hua brothers, who were in the top 50 of Phylan Star, were killed by 2 nameless youths and a mechanical martial artist who used his own strength. With one move, consecutively killed 262 martial artists, appeared out of nowhere. Gu Shue stared at Tang Tian's distinct face and could not shift her gaze away. She suddenly realized that she had lost her composure and immediately lowered her head to hide it. The continuous suffering made her quickly mature. That was the saber-toothed tiger. Among the roars and roars, Green and Red Cross was so quiet that there was no sound. Chapter 150. His gaze landed on 2 small glass bottles, each with a drop of fresh blood floating in it. One of the drops was dark red, while the other had a silver glow. The loose and thick feathers suddenly straightened, as though they were waking up from a deep slumber. They were like flowing water, flowing slowly. In the blink of an eye, the glove changed. Heavenly crane glove. Clang, clang, clang. Interesting. What attracted Tang Tian's attention the most were the small wings on both sides of the glove. They were shaped like crane wings and were now folded up. Yes, some can. Gu Shui explained, some can't, like the snow rainbow blood meridians. But every blood meridian is not suitable for everyone. You could try. These 2 blood meridians are silver-ranked blood meridians that are not bad. The dwarf blood meridians can increase your strength and speed greatly, but the side effect is that it will make your body smaller. The winged human blood meridians can increase your speed greatly and allow your movements to become more agile. Ling Su chose the pony, while Tang Tian chose the glove. Ever since his Fornax gloves were destroyed, he had not found a suitable weapon. Although the Blue Peacock's defense was outstanding, it did not help much in attacking. Tang Tian sat beside Bing. Hey, uncle, you know how to control mechanical weapons? Tang Tian chose the dwarf blood meridians. He had a deep impression of the power of the dwarf blood meridians. If he could absorb the dwarf blood meridians, his strength would immediately increase by a level. How much? Tang Tian was stunned and asked subconsciously. Gu Shui panicked. Why are you like this? This power caused Tang Tian's spirit to be roused. He started to communicate with the martial spirit of the Star Treasure. Unexpectedly, he did not spend any energy and established a connection with the martial spirit of the glove. Gu Shui was extremely nervous. He stared at Tang Tian, not daring to blink. Ling Su's face congealed. He had been in Phylan Star for so long, and his understanding of blood meridians was much more than Tang Tian. So he knew swallowing blood meridians had a certain level of danger. Pretty good. Tang Tian chuckled. Then let me try. Nonsense. Bing rolled his eyes. If the instructor doesn't know, how can he teach others? The current Tang Tian had a much deeper understanding of power than before. True power poured into the gloves. Ka ka ka. The sluggish feathers started to flow. Tang Tian felt that the movement of the feathers on the glove was somewhat familiar. The glove was made of bronze, and its design was very unique. It was formed from layers of fine feathers, and it was abnormally thick and even a little bloated like a large water bag. Holding it in his hand, he could feel its weight. Tang Tian tried to put on the gloves. The inside of the gloves was unusually comfortable. Tang Tian felt as if his hands were wrapped in a ball of water. Bloodlines can be absorbed. Tang Tian's eyes widened. Ling Su shook his head. I won't try. Not yet. Bing replied straightforwardly. He did not wait for Tang Tian to ask and change the topic. How's your blue peacock? Tang Tian was instantly interested. Before he could react, his crane body suddenly moved. Not knowing if it was because of the crane body energy, the martial spirit was very close to Tang Tian. Tang Tian also realized that the aura of the glove martial spirit made him feel extremely comfortable. How do you feel? Gu Shue's voice was filled with nervousness. Tang Tian's face was fierce. Without saying a word, he barged into the chamber of the bronze figures and began to vent. I didn't expect these two rascals to have so many star treasures. Tang Tian was also surprised, but he immediately laughed. These two rascals' luck is really bad. They actually didn't have any use for it. Still no reaction. Tang Tian was slightly disappointed. Seems like I'm not suitable to absorb bloodlines. Don't worry, maybe my body is special. I've already thought it through. I want to follow my teacher's path. Ling Su's eyes were filled with determination. Following my teacher's theory, focusing on the spear, not relying on external objects, and fulfilling his expectations for me. This is my mission. Tang Tian, who had suffered a heavy blow, ran to Bing. 2 million star coins. To him, this was definitely an astronomical figure. He did not have that many star coins on him. The group looked at each other. Tang Tian replied with an "oh" and swallowed the dwarf blood. The dark red dwarf blood did not have any smell of blood. Instead, it had a delicate fragrance. Tang Tian gently poured it down and swallowed it. Green Red Cross Scythe. Bing paused slightly and said indifferently, a type of martial technique used to charge on the battlefield. Ling Su's pony was a treasure from Equestria constellation. It came from the same constellation as Tang Tian's soaring boots of the pony. But the quality of the pony was higher than the soaring boots of the pony. It could summon a bronze pony, and its speed was similar to Tang Tian's flamingo. It was a very practical treasure. Slap! A big palm grabbed the glass bottle. A pair of oddly shaped bronze gloves, a pony, and 2 other small glass bottles. The gloves stopped transforming. Tang Tian raised his head and swallowed the angel blood into his stomach. Just swallow it. Gu Shui was slightly nervous. Sometimes there will be some adverse reactions. That means your body is adapting to its power. You must endure it. What is this? Tang Tian was curious. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Crane body energy. Wasn't the crane body energy in his body like this? It was made up of countless layers of true power stacking up. Ling Su's expression was somewhat sluggish. Impossible. Why is there no reaction? Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Tang Tian tilted his head and asked, Why? This is interesting. Have I seen it somewhere before? Tang Tian tried to instigate the crane body energy again. Chi, chi, chi. Sharp energy gushed out from his fingertips, leaving 5 deep holes on the blue stone floor. That's right. If you're lucky, you can sell it for 2 million. Gu Shui was gloating. That's good. Ling Su was satisfied. I only train in spear techniques. For us, we do not seek external help in battles. If it was a true treasure, I would not be able to use it. This little thing can save me a lot of energy. Ling Su held his silver spear as he sat on the horse. He looked like a heroic young man. He tried to instigate a strand of true power into it. 7 million star coins. Tang Tian was dumbfounded. His voice was trembling. The martial spirit of the glove was a ball of floating mist. From the outline, it seemed to have the shape of a crane. However, the martial spirit was not strong. It could be seen that it had not been nourished for a long time. After listening to Mrs. description, Muley was stunned. He had never seen or even heard of such a thing. I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. Tang Tian waved his hand. He had a weird look. This thing can't be fake, right? 1 minute passed. 5 minutes passed. The pitiful 18 bronze figures became the sacrifice of Tang Tian's anger. After a full 10 minutes, Tang Tian, who had vented his anger, left the chamber of the bronze figures. Ling Su took a look. It was true. What do we do? Tang Tian was hesitant. He glanced at the other glass bottle. Do you want to try that? Could it be that the dwarf blood meridians are incompatible with me? Being gloated. 2 million star coins. How is it? Can you taste it? Is it sweet or salty? The dwarf blood can be sold for 1 million star coins. The angel blood is also 700,000 star coins. With these 2 mouthfuls, 7 million star coins will be gone. Gu Shui sneered. 10 minutes later, Zheng. Once he said that, Ling Su seemed to have an indescribable aura. It was indeed a treasure of the heavenly crane constellation. It should be a problem with my physique. Muley was unsure, but he heaved a sigh of relief. It's good that you're fine. Tang Tian could feel that his fingers had become more agile. He gently poked the limestone on the floor. Poof! He did not feel any resistance. His fingers completely sank into it. This is the dwarf blood and angel blood. The one who spoke was Gu Shui. She coincidentally came in. When she heard Tang Tian's question, she explained. You guys don't know how to collect them. I help you collect them. Their blood meridians are also absorbed. When they die, the blood meridians will automatically gather and fuse into a drop of blood. Just 2 drops of blood. Gu Shui was obviously still angry at Tang Tian's reckless actions. She sneered. Do you know how much each drop can be sold for? Tang Tian tilted his head. He was puzzled. Tang Tian's spirit was lifted. This was definitely the most suitable treasure for him. At that moment, Tang Tian was overjoyed. What's that technique called? It's so powerful. Tang Tian quickly threw the 2 million star coins to the back of his head. He asked Bing curiously. At the same time, the crane body in his body started to circulate energy. Tang Tian heard a clear cry. As long as you like it. Tang Tian did not mind. He had long understood that everyone's choices were different, and there was nothing that could be forced. Time passed. How do I absorb it? Tang Tian asked Gu Shui. Don't be rash. Gu Shui shook her head. Can you teach me? Tang Tian's eyes lit up, revealing his true motive. Star treasures. Ling Su's gaze was attracted to the few items in front of him. The gloves in front of him were completely different. They looked brand new. The originally bulky gloves were tightly stuck to his skin. It looked like a thin layer, but the gloves covered from the wrist to the elbow. Muley did not say anything. He just stared at Tang Tian. Ling Su did not say anything either. He stared at Tang Tian. At this moment, Muley, who heard the commotion, also ran over. Gu Shui was like a life-saving straw as she hurriedly asked Muley. Muley's experience was plentiful, and the azure blood in his body was also absorbed. Gu Shui was surprised, but Tang Tian was happy for Ling Su. This was Ling Su finally finding his own path, and the change brought about by the breakthrough in his mental state. Ling Su had been wandering for so many years. The accumulated experience would nourish him as he broke through his mental state. It was foreseeable that Ling Su would usher in a period of rapid improvement. No feeling. Gu Shui was stunned. She reacted and exclaimed, How is that possible? Tang Tian's shrill screams could be heard from far away. It seemed that he had obtained a treasure. After communicating with his martial spirit, Tang Tian finally knew the name of the gloves. If only it was a battle treasure. Tang Tian glanced at the little bronze horse. Ha ha ha, nothing will happen. Tang Tian pretended to be relaxed and laughed. How can a godlike young man be affected by 2 drops of blood? Chapter 151. In this short period of time, the true power in Tang Tian's body had unknowingly been depleted by a quarter. But But he could not care less about the depletion of true power. All his attention was attracted by Bing's words. He came out of the wooden barrel, wiped off the medicine on his body, took out a clean bandage, and started to wrap himself up carefully. These bandages were made of special materials and were extremely durable. After wrapping himself tightly, it could help his pitiful bones bear some of the burden. He stepped into the wooden barrel at the side, which was filled with black medicine, emitting a pungent smell, and the medicine soaked his neck. But luckily, the energy concentration in the recruit training camp was higher, and his progress in training true power was not slow. Tang Tian felt the scene before him change, and he was in a huge valley. The grave valley, rugged rocks, and the terrain was extremely complicated. The wind in the valley was strong, and it was hard to open one's eyes. Tang Tian had to use some strength to stabilize his body, and Bing floated beside him in the air. His face revealed a look of pain. A few large wolves that were about the same size as him, with sharp and terrifying wolf teeth, drooling, and red eyes, stared fiercely at Tang Tian. Tang Tian's face changed. "Teacher, I finally have the qualifications to wear it. I understand. It means to let the Meridians and Dantian starve, and then they will eat very quickly." Tang Tian extended his hand and said. Tang Tian heard and immediately checked the true power in his body, and, as expected, the true power in his body had unknowingly decreased by a lot. This spear was given to him by his teacher, and was the source of his strength. After a few years of wandering, he finally started to find himself. "I still need a period of time to recover." Tang Tian was a little worried. In the battle with Hua Sha, Blue Peacock was heavily injured and blocked over 20 attacks for him, and the last attack also greatly injured its vitality. Bing's hand gently moved, and the colorful planets in the room rotated quickly. After a moment, a gray planet stopped in front of Bing. "Teacher, little Sue will definitely not let you down. I didn't expect you to pass the chamber of the 18 bronze figures so quickly. To be honest, this was out of my expectations." Bing looked at Tang Tian. "I originally thought that you would be tormented here for a while, so I did not arrange any new subjects for you." "All right, let's talk about the new subject." Ling Su could still remember the way his teacher had looked at him. A few bone-gnawing wolves howled and pounced at Tang Tian like angry arrows. Tang Tian suddenly sensed something and turned his head. This was a prescription that his teacher had concocted for him when he was still alive to alleviate the burden on his body. Every once in a while, he would need to soak in it to remove the hidden injuries in his body. Ever since he started practicing the spear art, he had never stopped taking medicine. "Teacher, I can do it." Looking at himself in the mirror, Ling Su muttered to himself, his orange-red eyes filled with longing and determination. Tang Tian's hair stood on end. Without saying a word, he turned around and started running. In the time it took for him to speak, Tang Tian only had half of his true power left in his body. This level of comfort would not last long. New subject. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. His teacher sighed. "Little Sue, when I picked you up, your body was already heavily injured. Your bones were already deformed, especially your spine. I massaged you every day, but there was no way to change it. This spear art has high demands on the body, and your body can't handle it. Your wrists, elbows, these joints have all been injured to varying degrees. Your strength exertion has a natural defect, and most importantly, the burden it brings to your spine will make you wish you were dead." I asked Big Brother Jing Hao, and Jing Hao said it's not a big deal. Just let it rest for a period of time. Feed it more spirit nuclei, and it will recover. "Teacher, why don't you teach me spear arts?" The young voice carried a hint of sadness. Although the chamber of the 18 bronze figures was torturous, it did allow him to improve greatly. If he did not complete the chamber of the 18 bronze figures, he would definitely not be able to cross hands with an enemy of Hua Sha's level, not to mention winning. The snow-white bandages wrapped around his body made his face flush red and looked somewhat sick. He held the silver spear in his hand. The cold body of the spear immediately calmed his heart. Bing's sinister voice came over. Bing was like an experienced instructor hitting the nail on the head. "Yes, Tang Tan nodded his head heavily and said seriously and firmly, "A godlike young man will not slack off." Ling Su revealed a satisfied expression. His gaze landed on a brand new white robe on the chair. The white robe was lined with gold. The collar was upright and nailed with two golden goat horns insignia. Tang Tian continuously used his martial spirit to nourish it, but the results were minimal. But what made him feel at ease was he could feel that although the peacock's martial spirit's aura was weak, but its vitality seemed to be stronger than before. The training of true power also has a subject. Tang Tian was stunned. In his mind, the training of true power was a competition of time. Those who had the means would use star rocks to train. That way the improvement would be faster. But obviously, with his current net worth, he naturally could not be so extravagant. Ling Su was slightly agitated. He reached out his palm and caressed the white robe. His teacher's reminder before he died was still ringing in his ears. In the room, Ling Su took off his thick jacket. His entire body was wrapped in bandages, like a mummy. He lowered his head and unwrapped the bandages on his wrists. The bandages loosened round by round, elbows, shoulders, chest, waist. Bing snorted. "Don't be so full of yourself. Come, let me show you the new subject I prepared for you." The pain gradually subsided. He felt his body regaining its vitality. His stiff joints also became soft. The prickling sensation that made him feel like needles had disappeared. After the burning sensation, what followed was unimaginable pain. It was like countless of small files in his joints, in the gaps of his bones, continuously grinding away the newly grown bone spurs. Tang Tian felt a chill in his heart, but he quickly threw this point to the back of his head. What it looked like, he completely did not care. Even if it was a beggar's clothes, he would not hesitate to wear it. The soft murmur was like a vow. "Did you discover the abnormality here? That's right. The wind here will continuously swallow your true power, and from there, it will speed up the loss of your true power. Even if you stand here without moving, the true power in your body will continue to be consumed." An hour later, his eyes that had lost focus slowly regained their vigor. Tang Tian's ears perked up, his face full of anticipation. Of course, just this is not enough, because for a long time without the nourishment of true power, your meridians and dantian will wither. Later on, we discovered as long as you can maintain a high-intensity exercise, your flesh power will continuously nourish your meridians and dantian. This is a deeper level of nourishment and strengthening. Because you can't practice it, the old voice said patiently. He had long learned how to wrap the bandages tightly, without affecting the flexibility of his body. So, Bing's poker face exposed a sinister smile with a snap of his fingers. "We will give the recruits some motivation to exercise, your good partner, bone-gnawing wolf. If one day you are able to master the Justice Origin Core Thorn, you can wear it." The deformed body was slowly swallowed by the snow-white bandages. Bing opened the gray planet. It was the first time Tang Tian had encountered such a situation. He had spent the most effort on the blue peacock. Under the continuous tempering, the blue peacock power was much stronger than before, but he did not expect that this time it would suffer such a heavy injury. Ling Su carefully wore the white robe. The white robe was very wide, covering his body tightly. His white robe was whiter than snow, his silver spear embellished with red embellishments, blue hair and orange pupils. Looking at his handsome self in the mirror, Ling Su was slightly surprised. This set of clothes looked more like a priest's uniform and not like a martial artist's uniform. "Teacher, I will definitely work hard, really, really hard. Teacher, I beg you, please teach me," the young and stubborn voice pleaded. "Your martial techniques already do not have many flaws, but this is obviously not enough. Your problem now is your body cannot keep up with your reactions. Your martial spirit has reached the silver rank. It is still slowly improving, but your martial techniques, true power is still at a lower level. Especially your true power, the 5th level standard, is already unable to adapt to your current battles. So this time's training subject is aimed at true power." The medicinal power permeated his body. His entire body felt like it was on fire. His bones were wrapped in a ball of fire, continuously burning, as though it wanted to soften and melt the hard and unyielding bones. His mind was blank, his face pale white. The orange, angry eyes lost their focus, becoming pale, his mouth unconsciously releasing sounds like a wild beast. His head looked as though it was fished out from the water, his face full of perspiration, his blue hair all wet, sticking to his head. "Teacher, I can do it. I can definitely do it." The young Ling Su raised his head and said resolutely. The young man pushed open the door, and the room was filled with sunlight. "Your description is very accurate." Bing's mouth revealed a smile, but immediately became serious. "That's right. So we built this training room called the Valley of Hunger. There is no energy here. Your true power cannot be replenished here. You will soon experience what is the feeling of hunger." But this process was definitely not enjoyable. Looking at the mirror, the blue-haired, orange-eyed face full of heroic spirit, the deformed figure, the bent and deformed elbow, his thoughts drifted far away. "You also need to properly digest the gains from this battle," Bing reminded him. "Of course I have." His wrist lightly shook, the spear tip trembled, a silver-cold aura flashed in the air. True power is the foundation of all martial techniques, and the research on true power has always been our focus. Increasing the concentration of energy in the environment is the most common method. But this time, we had a new discovery very quickly. When your true power is quickly consumed, your meridians and dantian will always be in a state of negative pressure. The meridians and dantian will instead be strengthened, and their efficiency in absorbing energy will become higher. Oh, relax. Even if they catch up to you, you will not really die, but the pain is unavoidable. They like to bite people's joints until they become dregs. Only then will they reluctantly swallow. You can try it yourself. It feels very real. Chapter 152. Ling Su's spear techniques did not have any changes and only continued to sprinkle out pieces after pieces of the spear-tip cold aura that formed a silver sea of stars. Bing looked at the time. A full 20 minutes had passed. Bing could not help but recall, in the recruit barracks, how many people could do this? "I never thought I would still be able to see the Aries spear of stars." Bing's voice suddenly sounded out in Tang Tian's mind, and the empty meridians and dantian instinctively wanted to absorb energy from the gale, but there was no energy in the gale. The dantian meridians and the gale, two different types of suction, seemed to be adding strength. Why is this guy dressed so handsome today? Above his head, Bing's friendly reminder came out. Luckily, his body quality was outstanding, although he did not have the support of true power, but his physical strength was enough for him to run. Tang Tian used all his strength to run. The gale blew so hard that he could not open his eyes. This gale was very strange. When it brushed past his body, it would take away his body temperature and take away the true power in his body. The faster he ran, the faster the true power in his body would be lost. This was the first time Tang Tian saw Ling Su training his spear techniques and was immediately interested and simply sat down on the stone bench in the corner. The moment he sat down, his buttocks trembled, his heart suddenly tightened, and only after a while did he react. He had already left the recruit barracks. His buttocks were obviously unharmed, but he felt a dull pain inside. Tang Tian was stunned. Ling Su had changed into a brand new set of clothes and immediately looked like a rich young master, handsome and dashing. Tang Tian lowered his head to look at himself and suddenly felt a burst of country bumpkin air. He was truly surprised. 18 minutes and 33 seconds. Bing's introduction made Tang Tian's scalp numb. He did not dare to look back and did not dare to stop. The feeling of hunger was getting stronger, and the muscles in his legs were getting softer and softer. Mule left with a long laugh. Bing was truly moved. That poker face that looked like it was painted on, the surprised expression, was unspeakably lively and funny. His thick eyebrows slid to the side, his eyes widened, and his mouth formed an oval shape. This rotation was actually caused by the thumb rubbing against the body of the gun. Tang Tian's gaze fell on Ling Su's hand that was holding the silver spear. After looking for a while, he revealed a surprised expression. Tang Tian comforted himself in his heart. Bing looked at the back view of the stumbling figure and sighed with emotion. This fellow was always giving him more and more surprises. To be able to break the recruit camp record, what kind of ferocious people were they? The image of sharp wolf teeth biting into his buttocks appeared in his mind. Hearing this, Mu Lei was stunned for a moment before he was overjoyed. That's great. Miss, you don't have to take this risk. Bing continued to mock and ridicule him from above. He was calm and unruffled, leisurely. With a face full of smiles, he said, even in our era, to have such an outstanding physique like yours, it was rare. Such exquisite finger strength. Gu Shui looked at Mu Lei's back view and used a voice that only she could hear. Such precious time, to use it to activate the blood meridians, what a waste. To fully exert strength, it was almost impossible to avoid the spine. In any martial technique, the spine contained astonishing power. To Tang Tian, this was undoubtedly a form of torture. The feeling of his meridians being empty persisted for 10 minutes, and Tang Tian felt like a hungry demon, his chest sticking to his back. But he could not relax. The high-intensity exercise made him feel weak and tired like never before. Not only that, the strength of his shoulders, elbows, and wrists, he did not use much. Ling Su actually used the strength of his fingers the most. The more he ran, the hungrier he got, and the more he ran, the weaker his limbs became. If not for the wolf howling behind him, Tang Tian would have definitely sat on the ground. But Gu Shui smiled sweetly. Uncle Mu, don't try to persuade me. I'll tell them later I don't intend to activate the blood meridians. Bing was startled, glanced, and immediately looked back in shock. His face could not bear to look and muttered, I've reminded you before they also love buttocks. It's really good to be young man. Your physique is rather outstanding. But he no longer needed to worry about the problem of true power, because the true power in his body was already empty. Not a drop was left. In the courtyard, Ling Su was training his spear arts. All right, this godlike young man never walked the path of sacrificing his body. Mu Lei was speechless. After a long time, he then said, I understand. Tang Tian's face was gloomy. He angrily walked out of the room. His walking posture was a little weird, as though his buttocks were injured. Tang Tian's face turned white. His legs that were just weak suddenly exploded with a burst of power, and his speed increased sharply. Miss, all the materials are prepared. Mu Lei wanted to say something, but stopped, his face full of worry. Forcing himself to throw the image of the buttocks and the snow-white wolf teeth out of his mind, Tang Tian composed himself and placed his attention on Ling Su's spear arts. His meridians were empty. At the start, Tang Tian did not feel too uncomfortable. It felt like he had just gone through a big battle and was a little weak. But his physical strength was not affected much. It felt a little weird. After running for a while, Tang Tian did not feel so good. The strong wind brushed past his body, and there was a faint suction force. But Ling Su's strength did not even apply it to his spine. Time passed slowly. Tang Tian's mind was blank. He only knew to instinctively run. The spine, to a martial artist, was like a big dragon. It was the source of strength. But this fellow, every one of Ling Su's spear, brought along a strong rotation. In his memory, ordinary recruits, when entering for the first time, to be able to last for 10 minutes was considered a pretty good result. Entering for the first time and exceeding 20 minutes, such a result, did he break the record? Bing started to think. After a while, a string of numbers appeared in his mind. It really makes one look forward to it. Aha! Tang Tian's heart-wrenching scream floated in the air above the valley of hunger. Tang Tian's gaze was fixed on Ling Su's 10 fingers. He then noticed Ling Su's 10 fingers were thicker than the average person's. But such an ordinary fellow actually broke the record the first time he entered the valley of hunger. 10 minutes, and you're already here. Not bad, not bad. Bing's tones seemed to be full of praise. but Tang Tian was very clear that this fellow was definitely waiting to watch the show. Psychological shadow. This was definitely a psychological shadow. He seemed to not know fatigue and was extremely engrossed in this kind of boring training. It is like a big mouth greedily sucking in an empty bottle. Tang Tian's heart was indescribably shocked. Ling Su's 10 fingers were changing rhythm so fast, he actually could not catch it in such a small range, but was able to explode with astonishing power, and the changes were so complicated, Tang Tian could not even understand it. If there really is an accident, even if they are here, they can't do anything. Gu Shui said softly, "Let this godlike young lad go to heaven's road peacefully and realize his godlike dream. How good would that be?" Gu Shui smiled. "He has already helped us enough." "Miss." Mu Lei was immediately shocked. "You must not. Young Master Tang and young Master Ling are both here. If there is an accident, they can take care of you." Tang Tian's fundamental martial techniques were incomparably strong, and his understanding of force exertion was extremely deep. With one look, he could see that Ling Su's force exertion was extremely strange. His tone was filled with sorrow and reminiscence. Since this place is called the Valley of Starvation, of course the bone-gnawing wolves are also hungry. Oh, normally, they would be starved for 7 to 8 days and then released. Ling Su's waist did not move an inch. Both of his shoulders never opened, and the trembling of the spear was very small. "Miss, are you afraid that young Master Tang will be worried?" Muley looked deeply at Miss. Bing, who was following behind him, could not help but reveal a look of surprise on his poker face. Tang Tian was already an arrow at the end of its flight. His heavy breathing was like bellows. His advancing speed had obviously decreased, and when he jumped over a piece of rock, he even fell. If not for his physical strength being close to the critical point, Tang Tian would definitely not have such a problem. There was no end to the valley in front. He had been an instructor for a very long time and had seen countless of talented youths. Back then, the Southern Cross Army was like the sun in the sky and had strict requirements for recruits, which one of them was not a genius. With Tang Tian's standard talent, back then, it was impossible for him to enter the recruit barracks. Uncle Mu's expectations of me are really high. Gu Shui was startled, but she suddenly imitated Tang Tian's tone and mischievously said, "But I think so too." "Oh, I forgot to tell you, although the bone-gnawing wolf likes to chew on bones, it also has a preference for the fleshy buttocks." Gu Shui suddenly raised her head and smiled. "Uncle Mu, I've changed my mind." His attention was all on the bone-gnawing wolf behind him. The bone-gnawing wolf's pursuit, that craziness and stubbornness, the incessant roars, made Tang Tian tremble with fear. But Mu Lei still wanted to persuade him. "Oh my God!" Using the friction of the thumb to produce such a strong rotation, Tang Tian was dumbstruck. Ling Su's silver spear was made of metal. It was not light at all. The strong wind was still continuously sucking at his empty dantian. He was like a starving person, wanting to vomit but having nothing to vomit. Tang Tian did not dare to be distracted. The Valley of Starvation's terrain was rather complex. He needed to be fully focused. Such a strange way of exerting force. Before Mu Lei turned to leave, he suddenly turned back and said seriously, "Miss, I believe that you will definitely activate your blood meridians. Heaven has given you so many hardships and so much luck. It must be to forge a legend." "No." Gu Shui shook her head. "I intend to wait for them to leave before I try." Chapter 153. Don't tell me it changed its name? Bing was surprised. Gu Shui followed Tang Tian's finger and looked and was enlightened. "Oh, there used to be a lot of stone sculptures here, and there were quite a few of them like this, but there were too many people digging in the past, and everyone wanted to dig 3 feet into the ground, so the stone sculptures were basically destroyed." Is Tian interested in stone sculptures? This big canyon, there's a ruin inside. As the wind was strong, Gu Shui needed to speak loudly, so that Tang Tian could hear her. "I don't know which era it is. There used to be adventurers who would come here, but all the valuable things have been taken away, and now it is a ruin, and no one has come here for many years." "That's great." Gu Shue's beautiful face seemed to brighten up, and she said excitedly, "Then let's go. Hurry up." Airy Spear of Stars. Ling Su was stunned and said, "You got it wrong. It's called Pointed Sea Spear." Ah Shue. Tang Tian saw who it was and was surprised. "Why do you have time at this time? Aren't you very busy recently?" Tang Tian's shout in the wind woke Gu Shui up. Gu Shui heard Tang Tian's shout and immediately ran over. "Tian, what did you discover?" Gu Shui, who was caught off guard, screamed in the sky, but very quickly the screams turned into laughter. The wind blew past her face. Looking at Tang Tian, Gu Shui suddenly wished, if time could stop now, how good would it be? She smiled sweetly. "This is the only place in Black Mountain City that has some scenery. The airy spear of stars that I have seen before, the force exertion was not like this. Seems like it is a new creation." Bing muttered, "This kind of force exertion is faster and more concealed. Others are unable to catch and predict. And the range is very small. The speed of the spear can be increased and is very suitable to use the Star Sea. However, if that was the case, the requirement for finger strength would also reach an unimaginable level. The strength of my fingers compared to normal exertion is simply too small." Tang Tian was suddenly enlightened and pretended to speak in an unfriendly tone. "Could it be that Uncle did not actually teach me the true Southern Cross Army's absolute arts?" Amidst the ruins, their voices echoed. This conclusion surprised even Tang Tian himself. Calming his mind, Tang Tian sprinted at full speed. He did not know if it was because he had just come out from the Valley of Starvation, but his meridians and dantian had also become incomparably hungry, desperately and greedily devouring the surrounding energy. Not long after, a headless, one-armed stone statue appeared in front of them. "Tian, what were you like when you were young?" "Very hot." Tang Tian had a deep understanding of force exertion. Although he did not understand all the mysteries, he could roughly estimate how strong the finger strength was required to exert such force. The finger strength should be about 40 times that of a normal martial artist. Anyway, in their eyes, the pointed sea spear was the airy spear of stars. Tang Tan listened quietly, not knowing how to comfort her. Gu Shue's eyes lit up. "Then let's dig it out." "Hey, Ling Su, your airy spear of stars training is not bad." Tang Tian laughed as he walked over. In this happiness and satisfaction, Tang Tian brought Gu Shui to the Grand Canyon. "I'm done with my work. Everything is arranged. I can finally relax." Gu Shue's face was full of smiles. "All right, I've already reported your names. The Starry Door trials will be held 2 months later. You guys leave a month earlier. There's plenty of time." Gu Shui gently bent down and plucked a small blue flower. She placed it at the tip of her nose and sniffed it. She said softly, "When I was young, my father often brought me here to play. There's no one here anymore. My father said that 30 years ago, there would always be people coming here. It said that a powerful treasure was unearthed. The entire ruins were dug up to the sky. There was nothing else. Other than these stone pillars and walls, no one wanted them. My father saw that I liked this place, so he got rid of all the weeds in the ruins and planted my favorite flowers. He said he wanted to gift me a garden." "No." Tang Tian shook his head. "I don't know why, but this stone hand gives me an unusual feeling." The two of them started to get busy. To Tang Tian, pulling out the weeds was a walk in the park. He started to live alone very early on. He had a lot of life experience. Looking at Gu Shui, who was cheering like a little girl, Tang Tian then remembered that the new patriarch of the Gu family was actually a little girl. It was a stone-carved palm. The movement of the palm attracted Tang Tian's gaze. It was a simple hand gesture, but for some reason, it made Tang Tian's heart palpitate uncontrollably. The time it took to release the spear was shorter, which meant that Ling Su's Sea of Stars was more compact and more stable. Pointed sea spear? Tang Tian was stunned. Tang Tian stood rooted to the ground. His eyes were wide open. His face was unhappy. Hey, it could be seen that there were not many people in the canyon. The place was overgrown with weeds. There was not even a small path. Tang Tian grabbed onto Gu Shui. He stepped on the cliffs on both sides of the canyon and flew forward. It was a relaxed and carefree feeling. Energy continuously entered his meridians and was refined into true power. Once again, it was injected into the Dantian pool. That kind of happiness and satisfaction almost made Tang Tian cry. All right, Tang Tian readily agreed. Gu Shui rarely made any requests. It was not an overboard request. Black Mountain City had been in turmoil recently. Although he and Ling Su were there, no one dared to make a move on the Gu family. But Gu Shui's safety was a huge problem. Tang Tian's face turned white. He still had the trauma of being bitten on his buttocks. In Tang Tian's mind, the scene of the bone-gnawing wolves roaring and rushing towards him in the Valley of Starvation appeared. Immediately, his heart trembled. His buttocks were in pain. Hearing the two words canyon, Tang Tian thought of the Valley of Starvation, and his mind trembled. I'm not done. Ling Su did not care about Tang Tian. He walked to a corner and meditated. Increase the amount? Hey, where are we going? Haha, no problem. A ruin appeared in front of Tang Tian. The ground was filled with broken walls. What was left were some rock carvings. But from the traces of wind erosion, it could be seen that they were very old. After passing through the canyon, the scenery became clear. Tang Tian understood what Gu Shui meant when she said the scenery was not bad. Although it was very old and had been eroded by wind, the patterns on the walls and pillars were still solemn and exquisite. The ruins were filled with brightly colored flowers, which made the remnants of the ruins look even more ancient and unadorned. Tang Tian was surprised. If you want to thank me, play with me for a day. Gu Shui said generously. It's not easy for me to rest. I want to go out for a walk and relax. I'll have to trouble you, young lad, to be my guard. Tang Tian pointed at the stone hand in the mud. That. Tang Tian threw away the heaviness in his heart and laughed. Suddenly, he grabbed Gu Shui and soared into the sky. Cough, 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 a godlike young lad. How could he be so embarrassed by a mere valley of starvation? Tang Tian's speed was very fast. While he was pulling the grass, he answered Gu Shui's endless questions. Suddenly, something in the mud caught his eye. Tang Tian knew that his intuition was very strong. With 13 times of intuition, he was much stronger than the average martial artist. This fellow is not an ordinary person. Bing was suddenly full of emotions. The airy spear of stars is very unique. It is famous for being hard to train. When he releases his spear, it brings along a strong, spiraling force. When used for offense, it has astonishing destructive power. When used for defense, it can dissipate the enemy's force. Look at him. He can release his spear 30 times in a second. And look at his spear. It's all relying on his fingers. Pointed C spear it is. Are you done training? Tang Tian was eager to try. Then let's fight. Don't look down on me, Tang Tian said firmly. How can I be defeated by this asshole? I'm his boss. And Tang Tian was surprised. To be able to hear such praise from Bing's mouth, it was Tang Tian's first time. But looking at Ling Su's focused expression, Tang Tian could not help but nod. This fellow is indeed very strong. The way he releases his spear is very unique. It's my first time seeing him use his fingers to release his spear. A normal martial artist's finger strength was 40 times. This strength could not be compared to his arm strength, but it was already very shocking. On the other hand, this weird way of releasing his strength caused the speed of his attacks to decrease greatly. The spear became even more sudden and unpredictable. The lethality increased rapidly. Gu Shui calmed himself down and shouted, "Let's go outside the city. Over there, do you see it? There's a big canyon." Aries spear of stars. Tang Tian was immediately curious. It sounds very powerful. Suddenly, a beautiful figure barged in. Tian, you brat, you didn't even pass the recruit camp. What absolute arts? Bing sneered, but his heart was still warm. He said, but since I'm still alive, the Southern Cross Army is destined to flourish. Seems like I'll have to increase your strength. If not, if I lose to this Aries brat, then I'll lose face. His entire body was drenched in sweat. He gasped for breath. Only then did he notice Tang Tian in the corner. At this age, he had experienced so many misfortunes and tribulations. It was not easy. When I was young, I was with my mother. Then she passed away. Tang Tian immediately started moving. The loose soil was easy for him. Gu Shui stopped the sorrow in his heart. His face once again hung a warm smile. I haven't been here for so long. The grass here has grown so much. Hey, Tian, let's pull the grass. Ling Su, who had completely forgotten himself, finally stopped. No, Tang Tian did not understand. Aren't there you and me? However, after thousands of years of evolution, the name of a martial technique changing was not something too surprising. Regardless of whether it was Bing or Tang Tian, they did not care. That's great. Tang Tian was overjoyed. Thank you. Yes, very powerful. Bing said, I don't know how it is now, but at that time, it was the strongest martial technique of the Aries constellation. It was very famous. I never thought that in this era, it would still be passed down. But the inheritance of our Southern Cross Army has been completely destroyed. Tang Tian thought so too. No matter what it was, wouldn't they know once they dug it out? Chapter 154. I found one. Dang, dang, dang. The undulation of the martial spirit. Tang Tian did not notice it. After being reminded by Bing, he used his hands to touch the statue and close his eyes to feel it. Her face was anxious. The cracks on the 5 stone statues could be seen with the naked eye, and when the last piece of stone entered the stone statue, in front of Tang Tian and Bing, were 5 perfect and flawless stone statues. But when the 5 statues were placed together, even Gu Shui could see that it was not normal. His experience was far richer than Tang Tian's. The 5 statues in front of them were ancient, but they were still able to maintain their good condition and were once again awakened. These things were definitely not simple. Tang Tian felt a chill down his spine. The hair on his back stood up. Without thinking, he bent his waist, and the cold sword aura brushed past his spine. A ray of sharp tan 2A blade brought along a mist and pounced towards the opponent. There's one here. The one-armed headless statue only had one arm, and it made a weird hand gesture. Tang Tian felt that something was about to break out from the ground beneath his feet. He immediately dodged backwards. Whoosh, a shadow drilled out from the ground and whooshed past him. It was a piece of crushed stone. He secretly shook his head. That day, he was impulsive and used the green Red Cross scythe. It took him a few days to recover. It was better to use less powerful techniques. Let's quickly search and see if there are any other statues. Tang Tian was also filled with anticipation. He suddenly felt that this could be an amazing discovery. Tang Tian did not expect that the extremely sharp Tan 2A blade was actually unable to leave any marks on the statue's body. He did not know what was not simple, but his intuition was extremely strong, because he was attracted by the hand gesture at first glance. If not for Bing's reminder, he would not have felt the weak martial spirit undulation from the statue. The two of them did not feel tired. They looked at the small hill as though they were looking at a pile of treasures. The two of them started to assemble the statues excitedly. In this aspect, Gu Shui's talent was much higher than Tang Tian's. Very quickly, Tang Tian decided to stand aside and watch, because he realized that his help was not as fast as Gu Shui's. Tang Tian's true power rippled. Pa! The cold chi exploded and formed a circle of air around Tang Tian. Gu Shui's face was slightly pale. She subconsciously leaned towards Tang Tian. Suddenly, one of the statues opened its eyes and smiled. The statue's face was actually like a woman's skin, with a hint of charm. Tan 2A blade struck the statue, but what Tian did not expect was that, other than the statue swaying a little, there were no injuries. It's a very evil and cold martial spirit. Tang Tian checked the cracks on the statue. The cracks were not serious, so it should not have been broken for too long. Thinking about what Gu Shui said, 30 years ago, many people came here. Tang Tian guessed that the other parts were broken at that time. It seems to be an amazing discovery. Gu Shui was extremely happy. It was as though she found a big treasure. Her face was filled with joy and curiosity. Furthermore, this amazing discovery was made together with Tang Tian, and there was nothing that made her happier. Another statue appeared behind him. Its index and middle fingers were like a sword, pointing straight at Tang Tian's back. Not long after, they heard Gu Shue's cheerful voice. "Over here." Tang Tian's reaction was fast. His right leg hooked downwards. The two of them started to search seriously. "Hey, uncle, do you know him?" Tang Tian and Bing secretly conversed. If his strength was at its peak, then he would not be worried at all. This kind of trash, one finger was enough to crush them all. The broken parts that they found were piled up into a small hill. Bing, who was controlling the saber-toothed tiger, appeared beside Tang Tian. Gu Shui was thrown far away by Tang Tian. Gu Shui, who was in the air, immediately flew away. She knew her strength was meager. She could not help much. The most important thing was not to distract Tang Tian. Damn it! Tang Tian's body took the chance to lie down. He dodged the statue's finger. The moment he fell to the ground, Tang Tian fiercely stomped on the ground. He was like an arrow that left the bow. He rushed out. The two of them ran to the statue. They tried to piece it back together, but they realized there was an extra piece. Tang Tian glanced at it. He nodded his head. "It's beautiful." That perfect arm was indeed very beautiful. Although Tang Tian did not know what was called artistic beauty, but his gaze would always be attracted to that arm. It was very graceful. "Who?" The 5 fingers of the grasping flower flew towards the back of Tang Tian's head. The cold chi was as though it wanted to pierce through his head. Bang! The godlike young man's face darkened. He said angrily, "These 5 fellows don't look like good people. They actually try to charm me. You guys are dead." One by one, the broken pieces were attracted by the strong suction force. Like a rainstorm, they shot out from the ground and entered the 5 broken statues. Countless white vortexes, with Tang Tian as the center, suddenly rushed out in all directions. His pupils constricted. Seeing Tang Tian open his eyes, Gu Shui was curious. What's so special about the statue? Tang Tian and Gu Shui started to search the ruins. The qi swept past his body. Tang Tian's heart shivered. The qi was extremely cold and strange. It was like a living, poisonous worm. It tried to drill into Tang Tian's body. Bing was not as optimistic as Tang Tian. He was facing a great enemy. Looking at the 5 statues, they were not ordinary. Every statue's martial spirit was different, but they had a subtle connection. Pu. The 5 beautiful statues were glowing with a demonic aura. It was like they were alive. Tang Tian's gaze was attracted to them. However, before he could even stand still, the stone man was like a maggot attached to his bones, haunting him like a ghost. And he had a premonition that this special hand technique was not that simple. With that thought, Tang Tian's spirit was roused. "Let's search. Maybe we can find its hand and head. These statues are not ordinary." Gu Shui opened her eyes wide. She looked at Tang Tian, who had his eyes closed. She could not tell what was so attractive about the statue to Tang Tian. "Take care of yourself," Bing bellowed. But the moment the 5 statues were stepped on, the demonic and cold qi suddenly surged. With a loud bang, it exploded. "I don't know." Gu Shui shook her head. "Many people have come here before, but no one knows what era the ruins are from." But with his current strength, Bing's disapproving voice came out from the saber-toothed tiger's armor. "It can be considered a real battle practice, but don't call me out for no reason. For a chief instructor like me, the appearance fee is expensive. As a hired thug, Ghost Claw is very qualified." The 5 statues were smiling. Some looked like they were holding flowers. Some looked like they were standing with their fingers straight. Some looked like they had their palms open with 3 fingers pointing to the sky. Their expressions and hand movements were all different. Bing was speechless. "What era are these ruins from?" Tang Tian asked Gu Shui. 5 broken and incomplete stone statues. The dazzling blade aura suddenly blossomed. Tang Tian accurately blocked a palm that appeared out of nowhere. His 5 fingers were like holding flowers. A sweet fragrance entered his nose. Tang Tian felt his blood churning. His legs became weak. He retreated a few steps. The martial spirit was weak, but it was a demonic martial spirit. Tang Tian's heart trembled. It was the first time he felt such a cold and demonic martial spirit. At this point, he already knew that this headless one-armed stone statue was no ordinary object. But which constellation would produce such a demonic chi? The two of them buried their heads in the ruins. After noon, the two of them finally plowed through the ruins a few times. Other than those buried deep underground, there was no way to search carefully. Weird. Almost at the same time, the other four statues opened their eyes. Some were laughing, some were crying, some were happy, and some were angry. I don't know. Bing shook his head. His tone was surprised. These statues are weird. They seem to have the undulations of a martial spirit. 7 consecutive blades landed on the statue. The statue that did not have any before finally had a crack. The statue turned into a human. It was extremely creepy. Chi. Tang Tian's pupils constricted, but he was not afraid. Instead, he was eager. Seems like it is not easy to deal with. Tang Tian's face changed. He pushed Gu Shui behind him. The martial spirits on each of the stone statues were clearly very weak, but when the 5 stone statues were placed together, the aura of the martial spirits suddenly became very strong. Gu Shui was interested. Without hesitation, he said, "Then let's look for it. Then we can complete it. Look at its hand. It's very beautiful." Tang Tian took a deep breath. The palm that was hidden at his waist activated the Shiratori vortex. It has a martial spirit. Gu Shui was stunned. The statues have martial spirits? Bang! Tang Tian took the chance to catch his breath. He could see the statue in front of him clearly. Although the 5 statues were not complete, they were placed together. The surrounding temperature dropped. The cold chi lingered around the two of them. The broken rock stuck on one of the statues. It was a perfect fit. I feel that it's better to save some spirit nuclei. Tang Tian said, "We are very poor." The aura of the 5 afterimages in the field continued to rise. A cold and demonic aura spread out in waves. Tang Tian had a hallucination, as though the 5 broken images were alive. Yes, Tang Tian's face congealed. It has a martial spirit. Bing secretly thought in his heart he did not know anything about the history of the 3 great armies from the time of their demise until now. He did not know which dynasties or which powerful constellations had appeared during this period. Tang Tian looked at it. He felt dizzy. He became alert and woke up. Tang Tian was alarmed. He shouted, "It's here!" The chi became stronger. Tang Tian's uneasiness increased. He could not care about anything else. He grabbed Gu Shui and threw her behind him. "It's not this one." Tang Tian was excited. "Seems like there's more than one statue here." "Hiss!" He roared, "Bing!" Tang Tian's spirit was roused, and he immediately ran over. It was indeed an arm. From the style, it was exactly the same as the statue. Tang Tian observed for a moment. It was a completely different hand gesture. Chapter 155. Chi Chi Chi, a white whirlpool of air, with a thin whistle, like a school of mischievous fish, rushed towards the ball of red-fist seal. Many thoughts suddenly emerged in his mind, but at this moment, Tang Tian's heart was in a strange tranquility. The angry-faced statue was like a sieve, trembling violently. Its body had many shallow pits. Tang Tian's pupils suddenly shrunk. A dot of red light lit up on the crying face statue's middle finger. Tang Tian did not have any fear in his heart, although these statues were emitting a strange and cold chi. But Tang Tian's guts were originally big. Such a strong chi could not affect him at all. A straight red sword aura gushed out from the crying face statue's middle finger, suddenly reaching in front of Tang Tian. The 5 round pearls in his palm suddenly turned into 5 puddles of blood. The 5 puddles of blood mixed together, squirming. The blood puddles could faintly see a human shape. Seems like I need to spend some time to temper the heavenly crane gloves. Poof, poof, poof. A thick and ancient chi suddenly enveloped the entire area. The crying face statue instantly turned into a pile of dust. Dangerous white bird. Tang Tian was stunned. These statues' chests were so hard. His Tantue blade could not even leave a mark on them, but the ghost claw could actually pierce through their chests. The moment the red light shone, Tang Tian had goosebumps all over his body. Without thinking, he struck out with the great monument palm. Bang! The angry-faced statue's body split into pieces. Tang Tian did not give the angry-faced statue a chance to regain its footing. In a flash, he appeared in front of the angry-faced statue and lightly pressed his palm on the statue's body. This time, when the great monument palm was unleashed, Tang Tian felt that it was different. Without turning his head, the palm with the heavenly crane gloves suddenly flicked his 5 fingers. When the crane body energy flowed through the heavenly crane glove, the sharp crane body energy suddenly expanded. The stone man with the angry face clenched his fist, but his fist style was rather strange. His thumb was like a tongue, sandwiched between his index and middle finger. The red light in his eyes surged, and he punched out. The red light around his fist surged and turned into a red fist mark. Like a cannonball, it whizzed toward Tang Tian's back. Great monument palm. Suddenly, Tang Tian's gaze fell on the spot where the crying face statue had been smashed into pieces by the great monument palm print. A red bead entered his vision. Tang Tian felt a burst of violent energy exploding in his left palm. The true power that was brimming with destructive power drilled into the meridians of his left arm. Tang Tian's chest tightened, but he forcefully circulated the crane body energy and dispelled the true power that was drilling into the meridians of his left arm. Borrowing this force, he was like a rubber ball that had been ruthlessly hit by a wooden stick, and his forward speed suddenly increased. A stone man's red eyes flashed, and his figure disappeared. Almost at the same time, Ghost Claw's slightly closed eyes suddenly opened. A cold light overflowed, and his figure disappeared. Shiratori Vortex. Tang Tian knew the expressions of these stone men. It was very strange, so he simply did not look. If he could wear it on his legs, then with the addition of the crane body energy, how strong would he be? The crying face statue's face was full of tears, with endless sorrow, despair, and gloom. Its red eyes were like a sea of blood from hell, as if there were countless of blood rays surging endlessly. His target was the crying face statue. Every time it collided, its body would tremble, and a shallow pit would appear on its extremely hard body. The great monument palm brought along a low whistling sound, and suddenly smashed towards the crying face statue. The distance between him and the crying face statue in front of him rapidly shortened. The palm print was like a tablet, square like a stroke, thick and solid like a rock or iron. On the body of the palm print, there were 2 huge vermilion inscriptions. The red fist print plunged into the white vortex. The powerful red sword ray entered the great monument palm print, and just as it was about to pierce through, the 2 vermilion words "Boulder" on the monument palm print suddenly shone brightly, and the light blocked the red sword ray. The battle between both parties quickly became intense. Ghost Claw, ding! A red sword ray as thick as an arm spewed out from the closed palms and clashed with the great monument palm print. Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. Among the 5 statues, the flower-plucking statue gave him the strongest sense of danger. With the Ghost Claw leading it away, Tang Tian's pressure was greatly reduced. Both palms made the same hand gesture at the same time and suddenly closed together. His entire face appeared red. Dazzling sparks blossomed in the air. Bang! The crying face statue seemed to know how powerful it was and retreated without hesitation. Such a strong claw force. The red sword ray entered 3 inches into the monument and disappeared. But the great monument palm print still brought along a low whistling sound and suddenly smashed towards the crying face statue. The sound of Bing and the other 2 statues fighting came from behind. The strength of the statues was much stronger than Tang Tian expected, and their moves were strange, and they had the advantage in numbers. Bang! He picked up the red pearl. The color of the pearl was the color of the statue's eyes. With a thought, Tang Tian ran to the place where the angry face statue was smashed to search, and indeed found a red pearl. His legs flew, and he swept forward. At the same time, he used the great monument palm with his left palm and waved it behind him. But it was a pity the heavenly crane gloves could only be worn on the hands. 10 6th-level spirit nuclei. In exchange for Ghost Claw to fight, the 6th-level Ghost Claw was equally strong. Ghost Claw appeared beside Tang Tian, his skinny figure, but made Tang Tian feel at ease. The two words boulder turned from vermilion to almost transparent and looked like it was about to disappear. Ping! The red sword ray instantly crumbled into countless red rays. Tang Tian was in a strange state, and the entire battlefield seemed to be in his heart. Bing and the two statues fought, and was not at a disadvantage. Those simple and clean moves. Even Tang Tian felt that they were not moves, but in Bing's hands, they had astonishing power. Compared to the green and red cross scythe previously, Bing's moves were even more simple and unadorned. Ka. The heavenly crane gloves in his hands changed shape like a crane retracting its neck, ready to strike. The Tantue blade, just now, was unable to cause any damage to the statue. So Tang Tian simply used the great monument palm to win with his strength. The angry face statue roared in anger and tried to block, but there were too many white birds, and it could not take care of them all. Pu, the crane body energy whirlpools of chi continuously hit its body. The crying face statue's red eyes suddenly brightened. Its thumb and index finger formed a circle. Its middle and ring finger were like a sword. Its little finger pointed outwards and pointed towards Tang Tian. Suddenly, Tang Tian understood. He had tried to use the crane body energy into the Shiro whirlpool before, but the power compared to this was like heaven and earth. The key was the heavenly crane gloves. When the heavenly crane energy reached a certain level of strength, then this move would have a qualitative leap. Just by relying on the heavenly crane gloves to strengthen the heavenly crane energy so greatly, this treasure was extremely useful to him. His aura surged. Tang Tian did not wait for the statue to make a move. He bent his waist and pounced forward. The flower-pinching statue's eyes glowed red, smiling as usual, the slender fingers pinching the flower in the air. Bing did not teach Tang Tian any specific martial techniques, but threw Tang Tian into different environments and let Tang Tian adapt and adjust himself. From all directions, they pounced towards the angry face statue. Tang Tian was extremely experienced in group attacks. Facing an attack from behind, he did not panic at all. He was very clear. To win in a pincer attack, he must think of a way to offset the opponent's advantage in numbers, and think of a way to form a one-on-one situation. Only then would he have a chance to win. This was Tang Tian's first time using the heavenly crane gloves to fight, and the feeling was very different. The slender fingers pinching the flower and the skinny iron hook clashed, and both of them did not move an inch. The angry face statue behind Tang Tian became even more furious. It roared. Its red eyes were like rolling flames, and punched again towards Tang Tian's back. SSSSS. The eyes of the statue were suffused with a demonic red, like red chalcedony. Those lively stone faces immediately had an indescribable gloominess. Tang Tian felt like he was being stared at by a snake. Slowly coming out from the aftertaste, Tang Tian was awoken by a few loud sounds. Bing cleanly smashed the two statues, and Ghost Claw's 5 fingers pierced through the chest of the flower-pinching statue. Tang Tian stood rooted to the ground, still reminiscing about the battle just now. His own strength had indeed improved a lot. He was not surprised that he had comprehended the killing technique of the Great Monument Palm. What really surprised him was the power of the white crane vortex. Ghost Claw's eyes were burning with fighting intent. His 5 fingers brushed through the air, bringing about dazzling sparks, straight towards the flower-pinching statue. That is, the 5-eyed statue made Tang Tian's hair stand. Monolith. The situation was disadvantageous to them, but Tang Tian had his own way. Ding! Tang Tian immediately laughed involuntarily. He was really like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. With this white crane vortex, his fighting strength would increase greatly in the future. In the past, the Shiratori vortex was mostly used to disturb the enemy, and did not have any killing power. The fist seal and the white vortex continuously collided, and the fist seal was immediately swayed left and right by the high-speed spinning white vortex. The direction of the fist seal changed and shot out to the side. Meanwhile, the spiraling air masses that resembled white elves happily pounced towards the crying-faced stone man. The remaining force of the great monument palm collided with the crying statue. Very quickly, he found the other 3 red pearls. The heavenly crane gloves strengthened the crane body beyond Tang Tian's imagination, and the power of the Shiratori vortex that strengthened the crane body was also beyond Tang Tian's imagination. The 2 words, monolith, and the red sword aura quickly dimmed. In the future, this technique will be called white crane vortex. But at this time, the white vortex suddenly roared, and the hidden crane body energy suddenly exploded. Every white vortex was a blade that was rotating at a high speed. Hiss! The crying statue's red eyes flashed a trace of panic, and the air around it suddenly became stagnant. It seemed to know that it was a dangerous moment. His palm missed, but Tang Tian was not annoyed. The great monument palm was able to pose a threat to the statue. This result made his eyes light up. Behind him, the angry-faced statue took the opportunity to sneak an attack. After a while, the outer layer of the blood scab peeled off, and a statue the size of an index finger impressively appeared in Tang Tian's hands. The statue's eyes were red. On its forehead, on its left and right palms, there was an additional eye that looked like blood. 5-eyed statue. It was a habit for a long time, training hard day and night. Tang Tian had never been lazy. His great monument palm had been trained to a very profound level and was only one step away from comprehending the killing technique. Now that his life was threatened, his focus was unprecedentedly focused. The silver martial spirit was like a silver flame, silent and cold. The palm power penetrated through the body. Gu Shui saw that the situation was settled and immediately flew over. When she saw the statue in Tang Tian's hands, her face changed and she cried out. Chapter 156. He imitated the flower-plucking statue's flower-plucking hand gesture. The moment the gesture was completed, the true power in his body suddenly moved, although it was very subtle, but he was sure that it was not an illusion. After that, he ran out without hesitation. The red-eyed stoneman's strength should not be limited to this. From the books, the red-eyed star's rise was very fast, and their battle records were not bad. But they angered the canine vengeance constellation at that time, and were destroyed. The red-eyed star then destroyed the star door to protect themselves, and after that, they never appeared again. The red-eyed star's glorious period was very short, only 10 years. I remember it was because the red-eyed stone men were very special. They could fuse and form a higher-level existence, which was the 5-eyed stone men. Ling Su reminded him out of goodwill, but was mocked by Tang Tian and immediately became angry. "You little hooligan, you dare to talk about justice with me? Come on, don't talk nonsense. Let out a good fight if I don't poke your butt into a beehive." Gu Shui bit his lips, his eyes filled with anger, and explained, "Phylan Star belongs to Onyx Soul, and Onyx Soul will appoint a star leader to manage a planet like Phylan Star. Under the star leader, there are 3 to 5 deacons. Phylan Star is relatively small and only has 3 deacons. The star leader and deacons are experts in Onyx Soul, and their strength is superb." The 2 of them just returned to the Gu family, and Gu Shui saw Mu Lei's worried face, and the smile on his face disappeared, and he asked calmly, "What happened? 5-eyed stone men?" Tang Tian heard Gu Shui's exclamation and was curious. Gu Shui carefully reminded Tang Tian, "Tian, you must not tell anyone you have the 5-eyed stone men. But you're already so old, and you only know how to fight every day. Young man, can you be more promising? I don't have time to play with you. You must learn from this godlike young man. Do you know why you can't beat me? Don't find excuses, young man. Genius is 99% sweat. You. Tang Tian's face turned red. Gu Shui's face shows a rare hint of anger. Even if Su Changtian is the executive of Phylan Star, How can he interfere in the internal affairs of the Gu family? Is this it? Tang Tian turned the little person around. He widened his eyes and clicked his tongue in wonder. It looks really interesting. It actually has 5 eyes. Yeah, there's a way. Tang Tian's spirit was suddenly lifted. After thinking for a while, he formed the flower-pinching gesture with his hands, calmed his mind, and remained motionless. Bullshit. Ling Su's fur immediately exploded. He was enraged like thunder. They are nothing. I'll turn them into sieves with one shot. Tang Tian comforted Gu Shui. Ah Shui, don't be too anxious. If they do anything bad, I'll beat them up. When a warm smile appeared on Tang Tian's face, Bing's body could not help but tremble. His eyes shone brightly. Gu Shui forced a smile and, Tian, I need to get busy. Half an hour later, suddenly a warm feeling slowly rose from the Yongquan acupuncture point at the bottom of his feet. Tang Tian felt as though he was soaking in the sun. His whole body was warm and comfortable. On his face, a smile surfaced. Seeing Gu Shui's panicked expression, Tang Tian tilted his head and thought for a while. He walked into the inner courtyard and found Ling Su, who was practicing his spear. Hey, Ling Su, do you know about the Su Shi group? Bing was paying attention to Tang Tian from the start. Activate blood meridians? Tang Tian's eyes lit up. He passed it to Gu Shui. For you, it will definitely help your recessive blood meridians. Is it very powerful? I think it's very average. It's just that the moves are a little weird. Tang Tian's mouth twitched. He started to reveal his usual arrogant look. The enraged Ling Su quietened down. Disgust surfaced in his eyes. Su Tian, out of the 3, sure. That fellow is the greediest. His actions are rude and unreasonable. The Shi group under him is the same as him. They are not good people. They have bad intentions. After the initial shock, Tang Tian regained his fearless and ignorant look. Gu Shui's eyes were as clear as water. Gu Shui laughed. I definitely don't have any blood meridians. I just swallowed the dwarf blood meridians and angel blood meridians, and there was no reaction at all. It's a waste to give it to me. With this, maybe Ah Shui, you don't have to use such a dangerous method to activate your blood meridians. Tang Tian saw the worry in Gu Shui's eyes. He understood and, go. Ling Su stopped. He frowned. You offended the Shi group? That group of people are a bunch of lunatics. They are very troublesome. Tang Tian immediately looked at him with disdain. So you are afraid of these people? Tang Tian looked at Ling Su with disdain. I thought you had turned over a new leaf and found justice. So you are still the same. Muley nodded his head. Good. So powerful. Tang Tian sucked in a breath of cold air. There were 3 of them in the top 50. That is to say, there were 3 experts like the Hua brothers under Su Tian. Logically, the Shi group will not interfere with the family's internal affairs. This is an unwritten rule of Phylan Star. Every year, we've paid enough tribute. Gu Shui's face turned ugly. She forced herself to calm down. She raised her head and said to Muley, Uncle Mu, go and ask around. See if you can find out why the Shi group is coming to the Gu family. Tang Tian grabbed Gu Shui and soared into the sky. Come on, let us fight to our heart's content. Let us use our fists to decide who is right and who is wrong. Tang Tian was enraged. He pointed at Bing. At that moment, he had actually lost track of Tang Tian in his perception. One spear turned them into sieves. Tang Tian was stunned. But after thinking about Ling Su's pointed sea spears, he felt that the description was rather fitting. Gu Shui bit her lips. She did not say anything. He did not wait for Gu Shui to speak. He looked at the sky and said, It's getting late. We have to go back. Let's go. What is a deacon? Tang Tian was curious. Tang Tian shouted, I obviously finished the battle before you. Upon entering the recruit barracks, Tang Tian threw the Shi group to the back of his mind. All his attention was focused on his martial techniques. He did not enter the Valley of Starvation immediately. Instead, he got into position and started to train. Tang Tian rolled his eyes. He waved his hand and turned to leave. His voice was heard. Ling Su's face was flushed red. He was so angry that his body was trembling. Bing sneered. That's because you have the heavenly crane gloves. Watch your tone. You don't know how to respect the old and cherish the young. Oh, you don't even respect your teacher. TSK, TSK. If this was in the past, any recruit in the recruit barracks would be able to deal with these 5 stone men. To let the instructor take action is a disgrace to any recruit. Oh, you even spent 10 6th level spirit nuclei to get Ghost Claw out. TSK, TSK. Trading a loss is the greatest humiliation of all. Also, Sweat, you asshole. Who was the one who trained the entire day, and who was the one who went out to play? Gu Shui's heart warmed. He shook his head firmly. It's too valuable. Also, I don't have the ability to keep it. Tian, you haven't activated your blood meridians. You need it. After teasing Ling Su, Tang Tian felt extremely good. All his worries were thrown out of his mind. He did not realize that some of his actions had unknowingly been influenced by Bing. He remembered the 5-hand gestures very clearly. He imitated them one by one. Every hand gesture had a reaction from different parts of the true power. Although the reaction was weak, Tang Tian's intuition was very strong. He could still sense it. The last time Tang Tian beat him, it was when he did not have his gun. But this rascal used the phrase, "Don't ever find excuses," which caused him to suffer an internal injury. Uncle Moose said, 5 days later, Su Changtian's Su Sure group will come to investigate the battle on the street. Tang Tian told them the news he'd just received. When Tang Tian started to imitate it, he frowned. He did not approve of Tang Tian trying things that he did not know of, because it could easily be dangerous. But he did not stop him immediately. He was prepared for Tang Tian to return empty-handed. Then he would emphasize the danger to this rascal. Gu Shui saw Tang Tian and Bing bickering. She could not help but snicker. To prevent the two of them from fighting, she decided to continue. Once he opened his mouth, he attracted the attention of the two. Very powerful. They were sent by the higher-ups. Su Changtian's ranking in Phylan Star is 13. He is much more powerful than the Hua brothers. Also, the Su Sure group has the authority to form their own Su Sure group. Although there are not many people in Su Changtian's Su Sure group, only 10 of them. But all of them are experts. There are 3 of them in the top 50. The rest are definitely in the top 100. You bastard. And the 5-eyed golem is very rare. Although people do not like the red-eyed golem, the 5-eyed golem is very popular. It was auctioned for a sky-high price. This was because it had a very magical effect. Its 5 eyes could release different beams of light. These light beams can gradually activate the hidden blood meridians in your body. Tang Tian, who was often mocked and ridiculed by Bing to the point of stamping with rage, in front of Ling Su, he seemed to be at ease. The 5 postures of the 5 red-eyed golems in the day were very special to him. With that, Tang Tian stuffed the 5-eyed golem into Gu Shui's hands. That's it. Bing could not stand it anymore. He snorted. Their martial spirits are already so weak. You spent so much time, and you still have the cheek to be proud? Tang Tian's eyes widened. How powerful are they? Mu Lei smiled bitterly. I just received news that the Su Sure group will be coming to the Gu family to investigate the battle on the street in 5 days. They are requesting for our cooperation. Aren't you going to participate in the Starry Door trials? If you offend Su Changtian, don't even think of passing. Ling Su glanced at Tang Tian. Bing rolled his eyes. The disdain on his face deepened. Brats these days are really insensible. In our era, there would never be such a talented young man, challenging his own instructor. Oh, right. He actually did not pass the recruit training. This is really an era that challenges the lower limit. And Gu Shui nodded his head vigorously. About 1,000 years after the Scorpio dynasty, there was a planet that suddenly became famous. It was called the Red-Eyed Planet. The Red-Eyed Planet had a very special thing. It was called the Red-Eyed Golem. I should have thought of it earlier. The Red-Eyed Golem's strength was rather outstanding. They even formed an army of the Red-Eyed Golem to fight everywhere. They came with ill intentions. Tang Tian snorted. His expression darkened. They better know what's good for them. If not, don't blame me for being ruthless. Chapter 157. Ling Su rolled his eyes. He could not be bothered with the idiot. Gong Ishio's appearance was handsome and delicate, a faint smile always hanging on his face. He took small sips of wine, patiently cutting the ribs in front of him along the bones, one small piece at a time, then using a fork to send it into his mouth. His etiquette was impeccable, and his language was friendly. His intuition had increased by 5 times, and he could feel the huge changes it would bring to him. The world around him had become completely different. It was extremely clear, and he could see everything clearly. Tang Tian's 6 senses had all been upgraded. 18 times of intuition. What a weird and interesting martial technique. Tang Tian's tone was filled with surprise. If there's a chance in the future, and I can find Red Eye Star, I must definitely pay my respects. Tang Tian was stunned. No reaction? He immediately changed to the ethereal style and said, "Try this." Tang Tian was immersed in the 5 weird hand styles and forgot himself. The 5 hand styles all had their own wonders, and Tang Tian named them as the grasping flower style, weeping sword style, angry fist style, ethereal style, and imposing style. Tang Tian saw that Ling Su had taken the bait and laughed in his heart, but he pretended to be calm and displayed the grasping flower style. Tang Tian found Ling Su and spoke with the tone of a boss. "Come, I will teach you a few interesting martial techniques." But Bing was experienced. He quickly adjusted his attitude and did not think about the 5 golem styles, but considered the change in intuition and the influence it brought. The big man was called Unin, ranked 39 on Violent Star. Yin Xia acted as though he did not see it, and said, "With Master's help, the mechanical weapons can be sold to every corner of Onyx Soul. 30% is more than enough for us to spend. Furthermore, 70% seems like a lot. How can Master Superior not give it to us?" Yin Xia's tone was calm. He had enough confidence to say that. Violent Star was ranked 20th. Even compared to the Deacon, he was only 7 ranks behind. Other martial techniques would have to go through a period of unfamiliarity, familiarity, and improvement, but these 5 moves did not. Ever since the 5 meridians had been opened, the power of the 5 forms had exploded in an instant. After that, it had not increased at all. He thought of Ling Su. Of the 5 golem styles, apart from the Weeping Sword style and the Rage Fist style, which were not suitable for Ling Su, the other 3 styles were suitable for Ling Su. No way. Ling Su doesn't even dare to try? Are you afraid that you won't be able to learn and embarrass yourself? Oh dear, you can't be that timid, right? Tang Tian looked very surprised. The others remained silent. He casually struck a solemn pose. Although it was just an imitation, his movements were very accurate. Tang Tian had never heard of 5 completely unknown and mysterious meridians. He asked Bing, but Bing also shook his head. Rank 20 and rank 50, although it looked like there was only a difference of 30 ranks, the two were on completely different levels. Even the Hua brothers together were not a match for Yin Xia. If the top 50 martial artists were the top of the food chain on Violent Star, then Yin Xia would be at the top. Are you sure that's a mechanical weapon from the Southern Cross Army? The man who spoke took a sip of red wine. The food in front of him was not touched at all. He carefully felt the rich changes of the red wine in his mouth. His expression changed from time to time. When Bing heard that, he stood rooted to the ground. Bing's dumbstruck look made Tang Tian feel an indescribable joy. But Tang Tian also knew that the empty spirit style had raised his intuition to its limit. It would not improve anymore in the future. I've seen your work before. It's really not bad. Yin Xia opened his eyes and nodded. I've discussed this business with Master before. Master is very supportive. You guys know that Master's relationship with Onyx Soul is very deep. Since he supports us, we will not be making a small fuss. But 70% of the profits will be given to Master. The rest will be split among us. Yin Xia took a sip of red wine. After a while, he said indifferently, "Do they have a right to not know what's good for them?" Tang Tian was filled with curiosity towards the red eye star that flashed like a shooting star. What kind of planet could give birth to such a mystical martial technique? Unin's expression returned to normal. He said, "I hope the Gu family knows what's good for them." Tang Tian did not disturb him and left the recruit barracks. On the third day, Tang Tian opened his eyes. There are 4 people. Chief of the Sushi group, Yin Xia, Unin, Suo Guang, and Gong Yishio. Mu Lei's face was ashen. Although there were only 4 people from the Sushi group, anyone who saw the name list would not have any thoughts of luck. Tang Tian was bursting with confidence in his own strength. The moment the solemn stance was formed, a change occurred. Bang! Ling Su's eyes flared up. He stopped and turned around. His face was full of anger as he rushed over. Coward? You're talking about yourself. Come on, I want to see what kind of bullshit martial technique this is. Tang Tian decided to call them the 5 stoneman stances. Ling Su laughed sinisterly. You have guts. Just wait for me to poke you into a beehive. I hate it when my own plans are interrupted. Bing's tone was unhappy, but he still said, seems like you need a new short-term training to deal with the upcoming battle. If Tang Tian were to revolve his true power, he would be able to guide the true power in his body into the corresponding meridians. Every single hand stance had a completely different effect. The grasping flower stance made the person feel warm and comfortable. It was also Tang Tian's favorite stance. The weeping sword stance made the person immersed in a faint sorrow. Even the true power seemed to carry a faint sorrow. The angry fist stance made the person feel as though his body was burning up. His fighting spirit was high and fearless. The empty spirit stance made the person's spirit become clear and pure. The feeling of the 5 senses was greatly improved. But the solemn stance made the person's heart like a boulder. No. Mu Lei shook his head. His gaze was blank. Tang Tian felt that he was unprecedentedly strong. Humph. Those Sushi group better not cause trouble. If they do, I'll beat their butts like popcorn. Ling Su imitated him. There was still no reaction. Ling Su's eyes twitched. His entire body temperature rose. His rage value broke through 100 points. You're really making fun of me. You actually dare to make fun of me. When one's intuition reached 15 times that of an ordinary martial artist, it would be known as multiple levels. This was what Bing called it. Yin Xia. Yin Xia awoke from the wonderful taste of the fine wine in his mouth. He was not modest. He casually said, if you're wrong, you'll be in deep trouble. This person's strength was enough to wipe out the entire Gu family. This person was vicious and merciless. He was unreasonable. His hands were stained with blood. Suo Guang mumbled, Master share is too much. Suo Guang, Phylon Star rank 52. His square face was as though it was carved by a knife. His eyes were slightly closed. No one could tell if he was happy or angry. He was dressed in a clean white robe. Even though he was tasting wine, he sat upright. I need 2 hours. Bing said straightforwardly. After 2 hours, you can come again. The 5 stances flowed endlessly. Gong Yishio laughed bitterly. Boss, how little confidence do you have in me? This is too sad. Does the heavens want the Gu family to die? Gong Yishio puffed out his chest. His tone was filled with strong confidence. That's right. As long as you give me the real Southern Cross Army mechanical weapon, I will definitely be able to replicate it. In fact, my replica is already very close to the real thing. It was a very strange and interesting 5 stances. Tang Tian also found out the uses of the 5 stances. The weeping sword style and the angry fist style were undoubtedly the most suitable for battles, while the grasping flower style was extremely helpful for training true power, and the solemn style trained one's willpower. These 2 styles were extremely useful for daily training and could be used for a long time. What shocked Tang Tian the most was the ethereal stance. The ethereal stance could strengthen one's intuition. In a short span of 3 days, Tang Tian's intuition had suddenly increased from 13 times to 18 times. Unin nodded his head. That's right. But Ashio, are you sure you can replicate it? A carriage with the Sushi group's insignia was flying in the air. He was just 1 step away from the highest point. Gu Shui's expression was slightly better. The trials and tribulations had made her determined. She suppressed the depression and despair in her heart. She tried her best to calm herself down. Did you find out their goal? The 5 meridians had the same characteristics. They were extremely remote and narrow. In the corner, Su Guang's mouth was stuffed with meat. He mumbled, "What mechanical techniques? Ashio is still very reliable. I heard that the Hua brothers died in their hands." A fierce-looking bearded man said, "To be able to kill the Hua brothers, they must not be weak." The five-hand stances were completely different from the current martial techniques. Every hand stance corresponded to a meridian. The five-hand stances corresponded to 5 meridians. "Just leave it to boss." A nonchalant voice came out from the corner. A skinny figure was holding onto a lamb leg with one hand. The other hand was pouring wine into his mouth. His cheeks were flushed red. His eyes were hazy. His entire body was stained with oil. "I can't be wrong." Gong Ishio chuckled. His tone was firm. "It's called saber-toothed tiger. It's a bronze rank. It's one of the Southern Cross Army's standard mechanical weapons. After so many years, the Southern Cross Army's standard mechanical weapons are pitifully rare. This is such a good opportunity. If we let it go, we will be struck by lightning. Seems like you've gained quite a lot." Bing teased, but his tone was filled with curiosity. Such a weird martial technique was unimaginable. Ling Su snorted. He did it perfectly. After a while, he stared at Tang Tian impatiently. "You're making fun of me?" The light in his eyes moved. There was a layer of faint light. After a while, the layer of faint light slowly disappeared. "Hey, Ling Su, that's true." Gong Ishio nodded his head in agreement. "For someone like me who is ranked 79, it's better for me to stay at the side and live off a woman." "The last one," Tang Tian interrupted Ling Su's roar. He adopted a dignified stance. "If it doesn't work, I'll admit defeat." Gong Ishio chuckled. He broke the silence. "That's right. Who knows, I might even become the #1 mechanical engineer." "Shut up," Yin Xia snorted. The temperature in the room dropped. Su Guang's body froze. Xia Yin glanced at him and said blandly, "Don't let me hear such words again. Our actions this time are very taboo. The Gu family's tribute has always been sufficient. The Su Shi group has never interfered with the internal affairs of other families. If we incite the opposition from the other family's old monsters, we will need Master to help us." Yin Xia was the chief deacon of the Su Shi group. Chapter 158. Gu Shui and Mu Lei rushed over with a face of shock. "Don't touch him." Bing anxiously stopped Tang Tian. The old man was silent. After a long while, he nodded. "Yes." "Really?" Gu Shui was completely relieved. He was extremely excited and spoke incoherently. "That's great. That's great. Old Man Yu is willing to make a move. Yin Xia and the rest will definitely have misgivings." "Hey!" Ling Su, who had calmed himself down, turned to look at Tang Tian and waved the silver spear in his hand. "Thank you for this move." "Heh, Su, you have to realize your own dreams and not your teacher's dreams." The little boy stopped crying. He raised his head. The pair of teary eyes were filled with curiosity. "Teacher, has anyone mastered the real pointed sea spear?" Suddenly, Ling Su had an epiphany that was willpower. "Ling Su, do you want to give up?" "No, definitely not." Gu Shui's request for help finally let the Gu family see a glimmer of hope. Finished, he waved his hand at Gu Shui and Mu Lei and disappeared. Threads of power from the tightly bound spine were transmitted to his fingers. The chi that was released was the power that was out of control. He was full of patience and slowly kept the power back. His temper was explosive, but facing his own body, he was unusually patient. He was very clear. His body was as fragile as glass, even if he trained his 10 fingers to be like steel, but the other parts of his body were shockingly weak. The fingers that held the spear lightly rubbed. Pain and power, such contradictory feelings at this moment, were clearly and ingeniously mixed together. With willpower, one could master the pointed sea spear. Willpower was to never give up no matter what. Relying on his astonishing willpower, Ling Su began to gradually get used to the waves of pain coming from his spine. After getting used to the pain, he tried to control the situation. Ling Su suddenly laughed out loud. 2 streams of tears rolled down his cheeks, like dewdrops reflecting the sunlight. "Buzz! No, Teacher, I will definitely master the pointed sea spear. I want to realize teacher's dream. Ha 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 ha. Ah. Hoo hoo hoo. Gu Shui heaved a sigh of relief. Just as she was about to persuade Tang Tian to leave earlier, she heard Tang Tan muttering to himself, "No, if I'm really surpassed by Ling Su, I'll lose face." The little boy found it hard to understand. Was a genius bad guy? He nodded, not really understanding. Little Su, I'll remember. Teacher, how did he master the pointed sea spear? Su, you don't have to cultivate your spear arts anymore. As long as you're alive, I'll be very happy. The little boy nodded heavily. He had memorized it. Who is he? Is it very powerful? The little boy was filled with curiosity. An astonishing aura, with Ling Su as the center, suddenly exploded. An indescribable cold energy suddenly snaked out from his heart, following an unfamiliar narrow meridian, cutting through brambles and thorns like an extremely thin ice needle. It instantly pierced through the entire meridian. When this thin meridian was pierced through, Ling Su's body trembled. The cold energy went straight to his spine. Like a dazzling torch, it gradually dimmed in the darkness. In the summer, a thin and small figure slowly climbed up the towering cliff that was as straight as a knife. His fingers dug into the rock, sweat dripped down his chin, and his body slowly moved up. Suddenly, he could not continue and fell from the hundreds of feet high cliff, crashing into the deep pool below. On the hundreds of feet high cliff, it was densely packed with finger-sized holes. It was uncountable. The old man's turbid eyes flashed a trace of pain and sorrow. He's a genius bad guy. He only wants power. He betrayed his own beliefs. Su, you must remember, no matter when, you must be a good person. Pa, I'll lose to you. Tang Tian was furious. He jumped up and pointed at Ling Su's back, shouting, "Come, Ling Su, I'll let you see the 5 stone forms that I've just comprehended. I'll directly beat your face until it's bloody." He was very experienced in this area. His broken body was the opponent that he needed to fight against every day. It was everywhere, an enemy for life. Tang Tian woke up. He recovered from the shock. He put his hands on his waist and laughed loudly. "How is it? Following me, your boss, you'll eat and drink well. It must be great. Come, obediently call me boss." Miss. The messenger was extremely excited. "Old man, you agreed." He agreed. In the autumn, in the golden forest, a skinny figure continuously used his fingers to rub the heavy wooden spear, chi, shooting at the falling leaves. The little boy held the wooden spear that was much taller than him and trained alone. Willpower. The teacher's smile was filled with bitterness. Although he's not a good person, but he's the most determined and cruel person I've ever seen. Mu Lei nodded his head. "Let me handle this matter." But realizing teacher's dream is Su's dream. Mu Lei waved his fist, his expression agitated. Amidst the intense, cold, bone-piercing pain in his spine, a strange energy suddenly burst forth. This energy flowed along his body, into his palms and fingers. The teacher's words were like rolling thunder, reverberating in his mind. In the spring, the little boy was topless, his deformed and skinny body, his perspiration evaporating. Every one of his fingers was wrapped with a tough leather rope. The other end of the rope passed through the branches and hung a log that was thicker than his body. Failure, and failure. The little boy's pale face revealed a painful expression, but he still persevered in his training. The irritable qi that enveloped the Gu family disappeared without a trace, as though it was just an illusion. The pointed sea spear that Ling Su used was twice as big as usual. "Teacher, what is willpower?" the little boy asked with his eyes wide open. Bang! Gu Shui's face was filled with joy. "Let the people below get ready. Use the highest etiquette and welcome Old Man Yu. It's a good thing for him," Bing said solemnly, "as long as he can endure it." Ling Su's face was still in pain, but he slowly opened his eyes. The orange-red color was calm. The dignified meridians were connected. The threads of energy continuously drilled into his spine from his heart, continuously producing that steel-like energy and poured into his fingers. Gu Shui and Mu Lei could only look at each other and smile bitterly. Just at this time, suddenly, a person barged in with a face full of ecstasy. He was the messenger that Gu Shui had sent out. Like a wild beast's instinctive howl, it resonated throughout the entire Gu family. Everyone who heard it could not help but look at the courtyard where Ling Su and Tang Tian were at in fear. No matter what, I will not give up. The pain did not lessen at all, but instead became more intense. But the feeling of his fingers being filled with energy was so clear, so enchanting. Ling Su gasped for breath. His orange-red eyes stared blankly at his fingers. This time, the pain, other than being pricked by needles, there was also a bone-piercing chill. Under the intense pain, Ling Su's body bent like a prawn. A sea of pointed sea spears like the stars brought along a soul-shaking scream and breathtaking splendor sprinkled out. In the world of ice and snow, a skinny figure bent his back on the thick layer of ice, used his fingers to continuously dig at the ice layer that was harder than steel. Plop! The exhausted little boy fell to the ground on his buttocks, and he burst into tears. Gu Shui and Mu Lei were stunned at the same time, and immediately revealed a look of ecstasy. The lonely, skinny, deformed figure kept on falling in the snow, occasionally groaning in pain. The boy's face was always sickly pale like the snow on the ground. Until one day, he accidentally used his fingers to rub the wooden spear, and the wooden spear suddenly shot out. Willpower was the bridge between pain and power. The intense pain made him howl like a wild beast. His raised face was filled with pain, his face distorted. The ice breath pierced the deformed bones in his body, producing an intense pain, which was 100 times stronger than usual. His mind was blank. After an unknown period of time, an old man slowly walked out from the void, holding on to a little boy. Bing, what was he doing? Tang Tian was extremely anxious. Idiot! Ling Su rolled his eyes through the back of his blue head to Tang Tian and walked forward without looking back. Be careful. Don't be left far behind by me. Then I will think of you as a burden. He was stunned and shouted excitedly, causing the snow on the trees to shake and fall. Willpower is to not give up no matter what. The teacher caressed the little boy's head and encouraged him warmly. Su must also be a man with willpower in the future. A power far beyond his imagination exploded from his fingers, and the spear suddenly disappeared. Ling Su felt that his 10 fingers suddenly became as strong as steel. Tang Tian stared blankly at the soul-shocking pointed sea spear. It was slowly dissipating in the air. When Ling Su's silver spear disappeared from his hands, he actually did not catch it. The deep black metallic luster on his 10 fingers was so eye-catching. The power that permeated it made him stunned. The pain in his body was like an endless wave continuously attacking him. But he felt the sky was so beautiful, the sun was so bright, the world was so beautiful. Teacher, I will definitely be able to master the real pointed sea spear. Ling Su. Tang Tian turned pale with fright. He was shocked by the unforeseen event and wanted to rush forward. Ling Su waved his hand, did not reply, and left without looking back. I must have willpower. I must be able to master the pointed sea spear. Ling Su's mind was blank. The intense pain was like thousands of needles stabbing into his body. His entire body was covered with cuts and bruises. It was not the first time he encountered such pain, although he would soak in the medicinal liquid regularly. But after a period of time, his body could not bear the burden and would always bring him a big movement. Su, don't be sad. Actually, it's okay. Teacher also did not master the real pointed sea spear. Old man, you said, this precedent cannot be set. He has already contacted a few experts from the other families. The messenger was also extremely excited. He will be here soon. The experts from the other families will come one after another. Chapter 159. Tang Tian spoke eloquently and claimed that the mask was naturally suitable for Ling Su because the black and white were distinct. I know where to find the map. Tang Tian said, "It is in the luggage that Shui prepared for us to go to the Stargate trials." Gu Shui and Mu Lei did not expect that their discussion would be heard by Tang Tian. Tang Tian listened for a while and roughly understood. The helpers that Gu Shui found needed 3 days to arrive, and the Su Shi group needed 1.5 days to arrive, and Gu Shui was thinking of ways to delay until the helpers arrived. Tang Tian finally heaved a sigh of relief. To be able to struggle out of hell and see the light of day again. When he once again bathed in the sunlight, he almost cried tears of joy. Although it was only a short period of time, but Tang Tian felt as though he had struggled for a long time. Tang Tian and Ling Su nodded their heads. As the chief instructor of an army, it was an easy task for him to formulate a small-scale battle plan. No one cared about him. Then what do we do now? Unin frowned and asked, if we really make a big fuss, then even Master will not be able to get away with it. Then he looked at the other 3 masks, orangutan, horseface, cat. He could only silently choose the panda mask. He even changed the spear in his hand to a common steel spear. Phylan Star's local power was strong, but they also understood they were still under the rule of Onyx Soul, so they lived in harmony for the past few years. But this time, what Yin Xia and the rest did could not be seen in public. It was equivalent to giving the other party an excuse. But if they were to give up on the Southern Cross Army's mechanical weapons, everyone would be unwilling. Ling Su uncomfortably touched the mask on his face. He felt that this could be the most humiliating day of his life. The charmingly naive panda mask on his face always gave him the urge to tear it off. Another advantage of Crane Beak Valley as an ambush location is that it is surrounded by the Black Mountain Forest. The terrain there is complicated, and it is very suitable to shake off the enemy's pursuit. As long as Tang Tian and I are within 200 li of each other, we can return to him. We can make good use of this. Bing did not care about him, and continued, the Crane Beak Valley has a few high elevations, and other than the airflow within the Crane Beak Valley being calmer, the airflow outside the valley and in the sky is rather chaotic and not suitable for the carriage to fly. Moreover, they would never expect to be ambushed. This is very advantageous to us. Just as he left Ling Su's courtyard, Tang Tian suddenly heard Gu Shui and Mu Lei discussing in low voices. Perhaps it was due to his enhanced intuition, but Tang Tian's hearing was much better than before. How far is the Su Shi group from here? Gu Shui asked Mu Lei. Have you memorized the escape route? Bing had the posture of a veteran soldier. The dumbstruck Tang Tian was kicked into the chamber of the 18 bronze figures by Bing, and then began his hellish life of training. Black and white, you asshole. To celebrate his temporary escape from the abyss of suffering, Tang Tian decided to rest for an hour today and relax. He strolled around the courtyard aimlessly, while Ling Su was bitterly training his spear arts. After watching for a while, Tang Tian realized that Ling Su's spear arts had improved tremendously. Ling Su retorted sarcastically, if you have the ability, don't run. Tang Tian even suspected that the 18 trash were taking the opportunity to take revenge. Their attacks were dark and ruthless. Even with Tang Tian's intuition increased by 18 times, he was still tortured to the point that he wished he was dead. Tang Tian's face was full of joy, and he took out 4 colorful masks from his back. Everyone's attention was roused, and they hid themselves, waiting for a sneak attack. Bing continued, our goal is to drag time, so we cannot let them completely lose their target so that they will continue to come to the Goof family. A ruthless look flashed past Yin Xia's eyes. We need to increase our speed and get it before Old Man Yu. When it's in our hands, the initiative is in our hands. Does anyone know if there's a shortcut? Go. Abandon the carriage. Yin Xia made a decision without hesitation and turned to order, slow down the carriage. The 3 of them looked at Yin Xia. He was the boss of this small group. Everyone was regretting they should not have sent a letter to the Goof family. They thought, with the Su Shi group's name, the Goof family would definitely not dare to resist. It was just a mechanical weapon, although it was rare, but to incur hatred with the Su Shi group, the majority of people would not do such a stupid thing. Su Guang said, I know of a shortcut. It's not easy to walk, but we can save half a day. Unwilling to be left out, Gong Ishio's mouth exposed a sneer. Although Old Man Yu's strength is not the strongest, but he is old, experienced, and has enough prestige. Phylon Star and the other local powers already have enmity with our Su Shi group. If this time he is able to unite a few families and make us suffer, then the name of Phylon Star's #1 big shot will be established. The young lady is powerful. The person you chose is really suitable. The sunlight was still the most comfortable. No problem. Ling Su will definitely not have a problem. If he does not do it, then he will be going against his teacher's teachings. Tang Tian shook his head and imitated Ling Su's tone. For justice. As expected, very quickly, Tang Tian found the map. And the conspirators had one more person, Ling Su. Tang Tian was right. When he brought out the righteous words for justice, Ling Su agreed. The childish Tang Tian, wearing an orangutan mask, would occasionally imitate the orangutan and let out weird sounds. Bing's complexion was not good. He could only choose a horse mask. Only this mask was suitable for his poker face. Ghost Claw was a cat. Using Tang Tian's words, they all used their claws. If it was the solemn style, then it should be willpower, but how can willpower be improved? Furthermore, from the situation that day, the solemn style and Ling Su obviously had some kind of resonance. This fellow actually caused the solemn style to resonate. It was really weird. That's right. Bing nodded. Your strength, although not as good as Yin Xia. But if Yin Xia wants to kill you, it will not be that easy. Gu Shui clenched his teeth. We have to think of a way to delay them. Only Old Man Yu can handle them. It could be seen that Ling Su, whose strength had increased greatly, was eager to have a battle. Yin Xia, who was ranked 20th, how strong was he? No one had any idea. They're here. They came from Ming Wang City, so they can only take this route. Bing drew a path on the map, then pointed to a place. They're sitting in a carriage. That means they have a certain altitude. So the most suitable place for us to ambush is here. He suddenly thought about the Golem 5 techniques. His improvement was his intuition, but what did Ling Su improve on? Tang Tian admitted that his willpower was definitely not weak, but even so, his resonance with the solemn style was far from Ling Su's. So weird, the difficulty of a chamber of the 18 bronze figures could actually be adjusted. His words were impolite, but no one objected. Asshole, wasted 10 minutes of my time, Tang Tian mocked. Ling Su, you're too cowardly. We haven't even started fighting, and you're only thinking about escaping. What's the escape route? Ling Su asked. Not long later, a luxurious carriage appeared in everyone's vision. Tang Tian, who quietly retreated, immediately thought of a brilliant idea. Suo Guang mumbled, Old Man, you must be tired of living, to actually take the initiative to cause trouble. What is he trying to do? Bing's thoughts were clear, orderly, and immediately caused Tang Tian's confidence to soar, as expected of a professional. You, me, Ling Su, Ghost Claw, the 4 of us, we need a map and ambush them at the intersection. We need to disguise ourselves and prepare the escape route and hiding spots. Ghost Claw will cover the rear. The loss of him being killed is that you will not be able to summon him out again in the next 10 days. Yin Xia glanced at the report and said indifferently, Seems like the young lady is smarter than we thought. But it has to be said, Bing's method was effective. The 18 trash were familiar with Tang Tian's attack methods, and under the situation where their strength was doubled, they completely suppressed Tang Tian. Tang Tian scolded in his heart, and without hesitation, he turned and left. Ling Su understood. That means we have to run, but we can't run too fast. The thickness of Tang Tian's skin had obviously exceeded Ling Su's imagination. Tang Tian laughed mischievously. Watch how I beat them up like dogs. Could it be that this rascal's willpower was very strong? The 4 of them soared from the carriage and landed in the dense forest below. Tang Tian watched for a while and decided to throw the question in the back of his head. It was not easy to get an hour of relief, and to waste it on Ling Su. Tang Tian was not happy at all. They are coming from Ming Wang City, and should still be a day and a half away. They are sitting a carriage. Mulei's tone revealed a tinge of nervousness. Old Man Yu and the rest will need about 3 days to reach. In Tang Tian's impression, Ling Su was definitely the most bad-tempered person he had ever met and would explode at the slightest provocation. Although this rascal kept on talking about justice, but Tang Tian felt that this rascal was actually more suitable to be a bandit and kill people. The place being pointed to his Crane Beak Valley. There's only one problem left, disguise. Bing touched his chin. Our goal is not to fight to the death with them, but to delay them and let them fight with Old Man Yu. So we need to disguise. That's right, we need to think of a way. Muley was also at his wit's end. Bing understood Tang Tian's intention and started to think from a professional point of view. If it's just to delay them, if we are fully prepared, it is still possible. They completely did not expect that Gu Shui's reaction would be so intense. The hellish training only took a short period of time, and Tang Tian had squeezed out all the room for improvement in his intuition. Tang Tian laughed. I like this name. Seeing the name Crane in the name, Tang Tian felt that it was very close. The information was quickly passed around in the hands of the few of them, and their faces were not good. Bing formulated a new training plan for Tang Tian's sudden increase in intuition. The new plan was simple. Bing increased the difficulty of the chamber of the 18 bronze figures. Hey, Bing, if we do a sneak attack, do you think we can delay the Susure group? Tang Tian told Bing his thoughts. Chapter 160. Tang Tian could be considered to be experienced. Upon seeing the panic in the eyes of the man in front of him, he knew that the opponent's strength was not too strong. Bing and Ghost Claw immediately broke away from the battle. One on the left and one on the right. They split up and escaped. The carriage dropped down freely. Ling Su's figure that was flying in the air was filled with elegance, but at the moment, he was like a blazing flame that was being blown by the wind. His eyes were burning. Every part of his body was burning. The ice-cold black spear was burning red, releasing an astonishing amount of heat. The plan was a success. Bastard, you're dead. The female bodyguard's eyes flashed with a trace of panic, but she quickly calmed down, her sword tip moving at an extremely high frequency, continuously moving. The carriage got closer and closer. On the carriage hung an eye-catching sign, but Tang Tian and the rest did not recognize it. From the specifications, it was extremely luxurious and, appearing at this time, was extremely compatible with their goal. The two of them quickly distanced themselves. Kill! Among the crowd, a few people rushed over, wanting to block them. With a thought, Tang Tian's figure disappeared, and he hid behind the Whiterun Crane Vortex. The big stature man bellowed and punched out. Tang Tian's luck was not bad. Bing and Ghost Claw were in a tough battle. He was like a real gorilla, moving freely in the dense forest. The little girl who was tied up tightly on his back widened her obsidian-like eyes and looked curiously at the guy wearing a gorilla mask in front of her. The opponent was struck by lightning, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Tang Tian's palm imprinted on the opponent's body, borrowing the momentum. He floated and rushed past the opponent's defense. Tang Tian's heart was immediately filled with joy. Success was right in front of him. The female bodyguard was tall. Her hair was golden yellow, tied into a ponytail. In her hand was a cold sword, looking somewhat valiant and heroic. After running like that for an entire day, night fell, and the dense forest became gloomy and terrifying. The pursuers behind still had no intention of giving up, but their speed had obviously slowed down, causing Tang Tian to have no choice but to stop for a longer period of time. Almost before he finished speaking, the stars in the sky poured down like rain, enveloping the entire carriage. A look of ecstasy appeared in the other party's eyes. A good chance. Without thinking, he took the initiative to attack. The steel saber in his hand flashed a few cold rays, aiming straight for Tang Tian's floss. Once the distance was misjudged, there would often be a short period of paralysis. This was a very good opportunity. However, at this time, Tang Tian's figure suddenly moved, dodging the saber by a hair's breadth. The sharp white vortexes were like high-speed, rotating blades, like a flock of startled white cranes, instantly filling her vision. In his field of vision, The target carriage was rapidly expanding. The blazing battle intent was like roiling lava. The graceful figure in midair suddenly let out a thunderous roar. The spear was like an arrow that had left the bow, but his body was like a leaf that was as light as a feather, flying along with the momentum of the spear. Ling Su seemed to have drilled out from the void beside the carriage, bringing with him a piercingly cold and dazzling spear aura. Like an ancient knight, he rushed towards the carriage. Puff! White crane vortex! Tang Tian took the chance to snatch the girl from the female guard's hands. The female guard's eyes flashed with panic, but Tang Tian did not give her the chance to fight and flew down without hesitation. Do it! Tang Tian and the other two moved at the same time. The spear tip suddenly disappeared, and at the same time, Ling Su's figure also disappeared. In that moment, Tang Tian realized the importance of the target. Although he did not know who the girl was, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend, this phrase he still understood. When his feet touched the ground, he immediately shouted at the top of his lungs, "Run!" The carriage immediately split into pieces. The strong qi, wherever it passed, the thick body of the carriage, immediately crumbled into pieces. Screams and curses came out from the carriage. It was a mess. The carriage that had lost control stopped in the air. If he ran till tomorrow morning, he would more or less reach the planned location. Based on the current situation, he did not even need Ghost Claw to help him shake off the pursuers. Ling Su knew how powerful he was. As expected, he was strong. "How dare you!" A roar suddenly came out from the carriage. A majestic figure suddenly appeared in front of the carriage. The cold aura blossoming in front of him was like rain, but his expression did not change at all. Tang Tian was astonished. The female guard sword techniques were rather solid. Her attainments were not bad, but she obviously did not know how to fight. Tang Tian noticed another detail. The female guard's protection of the girl was more important than her own protection. Seeing how nervous the female guard was towards the girl, it was obvious that she was an extremely important hostage. If they could capture her, then they would not have to worry whether or not the group of people would chase after them. Bang! Tang Tian immediately realized the girl was extremely important to Yin Xia and the rest. Shua! Tang Tian, who was in the air, seemed to have misjudged the distance and rushed a little too fast. Sigh! Tang Tian quickly placed his attention on the scene. He found a valuable target. In the hands of a female guard, there was a little girl who was previously tied up tightly. Her mouth was gagged. It could be seen that the female guard sword technique was very strict, quite a bit of proficiency, but such a textbook attack was obviously not enough to deal with Tang Tian. The big man's pupils suddenly shrank. A trace of surprise flashed across his face. But he did not have any fear. Although the opponent's spear technique was amazing, his own fist technique was not to be trifled with. Suddenly, the little girl on his back desperately twisted her body. Thinking clearly, Tang Tian's figure flashed and appeared beside the female guard. But the big man's face changed greatly. The big man did not know why, but his mind involuntarily came up with this word. This guy wearing a funny panda mask actually made him feel this way. Tang Tian's heart was incomparably proud at this moment. As long as he brought these people deep into the forest, even if they wanted to leave, without spending a few days, it would be impossible to get out. The corner of his mouth floated an undetectable smile. The 5 fingers on his right hand that was placed at the end of the spear rubbed. The spear in his hand shook into a circle. The cold aura that blossomed in the sky suddenly disappeared. When the female guard suddenly felt that the power coming from the tip of the sword was not right, it was already too late. This sudden burst of power caused her sword tip to shake. The middle door was wide open, and Tang Tian rushed into her bosom like lightning. She immediately noticed Tang Tian, who was wearing the orangutan mask. So when Tang Tian appeared beside her, she was not surprised at all. The sword in her hand trembled, 3 sword flowers blossomed, and went straight for Tang Tian. The light in Ling Su's eyes increased the opponent's strength. Instead, further stimulated his fighting intent. His entire body seemed to be burning. Only his fingers were as cold as steel. Pressing forward, Bing's words were definitely not nonsense. In battle, Tang Tian would always display his battle intelligence that far exceeded normal people. After his intuition became sharp, this was especially scary. All the minute details would always be used by him. The big man was enraged. With a long whistle, he turned and pounced towards Ling Su. In that moment, he decided to snatch the little girl over. Although she had the protection of the armor, but Tang Tian's strength was too strong. Her body was in so much pain that she froze. Without any hesitation, the moment the carriage appeared, the first to move was Ling Su. The pink sword flowers were extremely cute, but at the moment, they were filled with dense, killing intent. But the pursuers behind obviously did not have any intention of giving up. They chased like crazy. Tang Tian carried the little girl, sprinting in the dense forest. The roars and footsteps behind him never stopped. This time, Tang Tian also used all his strength. The complicated terrain of the dense forest gave him a huge help. His 18 times intuition allowed him to know in advance where there were obstacles, where there were dangers. Like a meteor crashing, the spear hit the carriage. The big man did not expect Ling Su to be so determined to escape. When he reacted, he was even more furious. Damn panda, you are dead today? Tang Tian in battle was scary. Ling Su did not care about his own battle results. According to his previous plan, without hesitation, he fiercely rubbed the spear body. The spear body broke through the air outside the valley. His body is light as a feather stuck to the spear. The spear pierced towards the huge fist aura. Not good. This time, Tang Tian was surprised. Such a precise elbow attack was definitely not casually used. This girl had learned close combat before, but Tang Tian's body was faster than his thoughts. Almost instinctively, his palm blocked the opponent's elbow attack, and at the same time, his right fist struck her soft abdomen. In order to not let the opponent lose him, sometimes Tang Tian would even purposely stop and rest for a while. Fiercely stepping on the ground, his entire body soared into the air. In mid-air, he rubbed his fingers. The spear suddenly flew out. This was his unique technique. All these techniques had one goal, which was to avoid his weak body. Very quickly, Tang Tian realized that the opponent could not catch up to him. The sharp whistling sound was like a tide. The momentum was terrifying. His palms clasped together. The flames at an astonishing speed continuously gathered and rotated on his fists. In the blink of an eye, it was the size of a wine jar. The tip of the spear lit up with a cold aura, even brighter than the most dazzling stars in the night sky. After experiencing the chamber of the 18 bronze figures, once Tang Tian fought, he would not hesitate to use any method. Any method that was effective would be used. He did not forget his own mission. To Tang Tian, the darkness had almost no effect. He did not rely on his eyes to avoid obstacles and dangers. But to other people, the darkness would cause the complicated terrain of the forest to become more dangerous and troublesome. They did not dare to increase their speed. One by one, figures flew out from the carriage that had lost control. The burly man screamed, his body extended, like a big eagle spreading its wings. He pounced towards Ling Su. His body moved along with the spear, elegant like the wind. His hand took the opportunity to place on the back of the opponent's steel blade. The crane body energy was released. Facing the carriage that was flying at a low altitude, Ling Su's fighting spirit rose to the extreme. His orange eyes turned into a blazing flame, his blue hair fluttering recklessly. Tang Tian's hands trembled. A red fist aura the size of a wine jar flew out, and in mid-air, with a terrifying whistling sound, it rushed towards Ling Su. The female guard panicked, suddenly released her sword, and elbowed towards Tang Tian. The blade aura was like a white snake spitting out its tongue. In a blink of an eye, he flew more than 10 feet.